Chairwoman Alvarado.
Here.
Mr. Venero.
Here.
Mr. Banda.
Here.
Mr. Giordano is not present. Mr. Graziano is not present. Ms. Wyman.
Here.
Mr. Guyan.
Here.
Ms. Nettleford is not present. Mr. Zangari.
Here.
Mr. Di Lorenzo is not present. Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Marinello.
Here.
We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine notice.
Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, known as the Sunshine Law, notice of this meeting was published in the Belleville Times and the Star Ledger.
Thank you. Are there any communications?
Not at this time.
Chairman's comments, there are none this evening. Approval of minutes, April 11th, 2024.
Motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes, bill list rather, dated May 9th, 2024. Do I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. I think we're going to need a roll call.
Chairwoman Alvarado.
Yes.
Mr. Venero.
Yes.
Mr. Banda.
Yes.
Ms. Wyman.
Yes.
Mr. Guyan.
Yes.
Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
Okay, approved.
Thank you. There's resolutions to be memorialized this evening, which is PB 2910, 107B Baldwin Place.
Motion.
Second. Roll call.
Chairwoman Alvarado.
Yes.
Mr. Venero.
Yes.
Mr. Banda.
Yes.
Ms. Wyman.
Yes.
Mr. Guyan.
Yes.
Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
Okay, approved.
All right, another resolution is PB 2212, 21 Route Street. Can I get a motion? Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Chairwoman Alvarado.
Yes.
Mr. Venero.
Yes.
Mr. Banda.
Yes.
Ms. Wyman.
Yes.
Mr. Guyan.
Yes.
Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
The next resolution is PB 2403, 305 Union Avenue. Can I get a motion? Motion?
Mrs. Alvarado, has the applicant provided the 3D rendering, which was made a condition for this approval at the last meeting?
No, the applicant did not, but I believe that will also be covered in the subcommittee meeting to be scheduled.
What was required of this meeting? It was just the road in?
Yeah, yes.
Right.
Then that was done?
Yes.
Yes.
Thought I saw that come through. Okay.
Good, we have a motion from Ms. Wyman.
Second.
Roll call.
Chairwoman Alvarado.
Yes.
Mr. Venero.
Yes.
Mr. Banda.
Yes.
Ms. Wyman.
Yes.
Mr. Guyan.
Yes.
Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
Okay, approved.
All right, applications before the board. It's part 2 of PB 2316, which is 450, 456 Greylock Parkway. Ready to proceed?
I don't mean in a microphone. My voice is loud enough for everyone to hear.
Well, hold on. Let's get who you are down on the record.
Okay. My name is Andrew Wu. W-U is my last name. I'm a professional engineer and a professional land surveyor in New Jersey, My license is current and in good standing. I have been here before.
Did you testify the last time this application was on?
Yes.
All right, so I'll remind you, you're still under oath from the last meeting, okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You can proceed.
Thank you. We are propose a subdivision. Everybody can see it. Propose a subdivision for this lot, and on top of here is the existing house. But the yellow one is the house we are proposing. It's 15 Mitchell. Here is the thing. I'm the engineer and surveyor for the proposed subdivision and the proposed new house. And we design, they call the driveway, sometimes they call sewage pit, to collect all the water from the site to the sewage pit. I understand that might have some water concerns here, and I've studied, I have a solution.
Can that board be angled so the audience can better see what's being presented?
Yeah, if you could just angle it a little, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Is that better?
Thank you.
You can continue.
Yeah, continue. The natural grade, the grade is high here and is a little bit low to the neighbor here. We didn't change any grade, but based on the natural grade, the water will flow from here to the neighbor.
Can you describe, I'm sorry, but which way is it moving? Which direction is it?
The resin from here to here.
Yeah,
Water
but
flow,
I can't write here to here in the residential.
Yeah, okay,
What
sorry.
does that mean? Is that north to south,
No,
east to west?
east to west.
East to west?
From east-west, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I will propose, I will design a low landscaping wall along the property line here to stop the water from flowing from our subdivision line to the neighbor's lot.
So you're proposing
It's a low wall, I
a
call it.
low wall along
Landscaping
the,
wall,
yeah, along the west side of the property?
yes. I also proposed on the south side of the property near the subdivision line, a yard drain. Yeah, the whole purpose is to collect the water, and all the water collect from the yard drain will flow to the dry well. That will solve the water concern that my neighbor, not my neighbor, our client's neighbors has.
How deep is this well?
Can I
Yeah,
interject?
please.
Okay, so after the last meeting, I met with Ray Cure on Mitchell, and you would not believe how wet it is. Even in his backyard, the water just, beyond his backyard, the water stands. I think the solution is to, there's a inlet on the street just down maybe 100 feet or so. I think the solution is to get rid of this yard drain, because all you're doing is adding water to the existing water table, which is a mess there. There's some pumps going all the time. Is to extend the drainage from here to here, put an inlet here, and then run another inlet up to the yard, swale it, and collect all the root drains into the inlet. I can work with the engineer, but I think that's the best solution. And I think at the time I met with Ray, and I forget who the other neighbor was. He's a Yankee fan. I know that. He has a Yankee uniform on. Oh, there he is. Okay.
I have just one question. What do you
Wait,
mean by?
wait, wait.
Right, wait, it's not time for that.
I think we talked about it, and I thought that was the best solution for the residents there.
Okay.
So that would take the water basically off the site.
And there's one other thing I want to add to that. Adjacent to the storm pipe that he's putting in, I want him to install a perforated pipe to help collect groundwater and get it into the inlets, not
So what you're saying, we put an inlet somewhere here?
there's an inlet here.
Yeah,
You run a 15-inch pipe up here, then run a 15-inch pipe here. You've got to swale all this area and then swale all the property line so it doesn't go
I
to
can
the
do
adjacent.
that, all the water will flow to here and go to the inlet here.
Yes, and then every roof drain's tied to this inlet. We get rid of this.
Get rid of the seep.
Yeah, yep. It's not going to work. You're going to have water. It's going to be filled with water all the time.
Because this side is higher than this side, right? So the water will flow to here, but I would say still do the low wall.
You can add that, but
Yeah.
I want to swale between your house, the proposed house, and the property to the west of.
I can do that, yes.
Okay, so there seems to be some agreement on how that would work, so I'm just, for purposes of this hearing, I'm going to say, if the matter is approved, that the applicant will work with the borough engineer, town engineer, to create a plan in conformity with what was discussed at tonight's meeting.
Correct.
Is that okay with you, Tom?
Yes, and just to answer, I can pre-answer that woman's question. If the inlet's going to be, I'm going to have him propose to put an E-inlet in, which is a 4x4 inlet to capture the water that runs behind his house and before it gets to the house to the west of his property, okay?
I don't know what an inlet is.
And then it's
A property drain?
it's a drain, but it's got a metal casting. It'll be sunk to the ground, and the water will flow into that, capture it, and then a pipe will take it out to the street and then to the other inlet in front of Ray Keir's
Not like a
house.
sewer.
It's a storm sewer, not a sanitary sewer.
Okay, I can't even picture it. Is that what's in the yards, what you had?
There's one in one of the yards. There's one in one of the yards, but it's small. And it doesn't go out. We couldn't figure out where it went. So
That's the one in Joni.
believe me, I think this is the better solution.
So, Tom, in layman's terms, it's gonna capture all this water runoff from the roof of the house, everything that's being taken out, all these new impervious space. And additionally, it's gonna take in some of the other runoff that runs down onto the property from the higher ground. And captures it before it runs onto their properties.
Yes.
Does that sound better?
Sounds okay, but the house is still gigantic.
Well, that's something that's.
That's
You
another-
can testify about that later.
That's another issue.
But I also want to add an under drain to help lower the water table in that whole area.
That would
So
be
they run
wonderful.
it adjacent to the storm pipe and it's tied into the inlet and it'll just sucks water into it and
I like that
hopefully
idea.
will lower the water table.
So would they be willing to do that if we
Yeah.
were to approve it tonight?
Well, you could,
That's up to the applicant.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can make it a condition of the approval.
Okay. We should.
So what is the, Tom, what would be the condition, so I-
Improve drainage improvements on the street
Township
and the
engineer's
property.
drainage plan, right?
What?
Just to approve it with the town engineer's drainage plan for the site.
Yeah.
Okay, you can continue, sorry.
Well, that's fine, so I will work with the town's engineer closely. I will make some preliminary design and email to him for he to review and approval. After he approval, we'll make a final drainage design, and then we go from there.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, no.
Okay.
Does the board have any questions?
Just Tom, I guess you touched on it, you're gonna do something in addition to this property to help the existing houses, you said?
Yeah,
Inlet?
I think the inlet will help the lake directly to the west. And the under drain, the DOT does it a lot. They run an under drain, they run a perforated pipe adjacent to the regular storm pipe under the ground, and it'll help lower the water table in that area.
And is the existing storm drain big enough to help to handle it?
Yeah, I think it only it handles, it should be, yes.
Anyone else?
It drains back to a wetland area in the PSCG easement back there.
I'll open up to the public. Only questions that pertain to this drain. That's all we're gonna talk about right now. Sir?
Jeff Aldudo, 13 Mitchell Street. Real quick, last meeting you said civil engineers should submit a report. Was the report submitted for us to review? I don't know how, looking at a survey map from 50 feet away, it's really hard to analyze it. And I trust the township engineer, he's doing the best for what's best for the town.
He's gonna revise the plan, and it'll be to my approval. If I get the revised plan and you wanna meet again, I'll give
That'd be great, yeah.
I'll give Ray a call and show you what we're gonna be doing.
All right, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Second thing is all these changes and these, you got the inlets and the swalls. Who's paying for all that?
He is.
He's paying for that?
Yep.
Okay. And what's a swall anyway? I mean,
It's it'll look like kind of a shallow ditch, so the water collects to it and goes to those drains.
all right, shallow ditch. All right. I mean, really, you guys seem to have it covered. You did a great job. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and speak with Ray.
I walked around with wet feet all
I
day.
know. Now you know what until you see it, you can't believe it. And, I know we're going to talk about the aesthetics and all that stuff at a different time, but it's like, before we get too deep in the weeds with this drainage and stuff, I feel like that's something important to address too, because it's just as important as that. One's like, they go hand in hand almost. So, whenever you want to get to that, we'll be here again for that. Thank you for your time.
Any other questions? I'll close this portion down. Are there any other witnesses?
Anybody else testifying?
Yeah. No?
No, thanks.
Would we have to come back again?
No.
No.
I do have one other question.
Yeah.
When you came up with these walls and all this great stuff, what kind of studies did you do? Did you just look at the grading of the property? Did you actually have like a real study to show that the impact of the
So
runoff?
I surveyed the project myself. Yeah, I know this project very well.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, you surveyed it, but I mean,
Yeah.
did you survey anything besides the grade? Did you measure the water table, or you just made assumptions based on like what you think it is?
Well, we don't have any information about the water table, but, I, based on the existing grade and the proposed grade, will, like the engineer said, will design,
No, I'm just trying to get a handle on how much like homework you did prior to coming in and saying, this is gonna fix it, and I know you guys are gonna work together. But I just wanna make sure that you get, like, you really do your homework on this. If this doesn't work, 13 Mitchell Street is, it's useless. Like, you can't do anything with it because it's just gonna be constant flooding. So I guess it's like, you guys want your big McMansion, my mother wants her dual-size Cape Cod to live in. You know what I'm saying? That's,
I
there's like no
understand.
consequences. So I appreciate you guys doing those. All right, thank you.
Is there an architect here to testify? Yes?
Oh, all right, we're ready for the next witness then.
excuse me.
Yes.
Mr. Wu, the architect? Are you the
No.
architect, Mr. Wu?
No, I'm not.
He's the engineer.
He's the architect.
Okay.
I did give a testimony at the last meeting.
Say your name again, please.
John Halsey, architect.
Did you, I don't remember.
Yes. I'm just commenting, before we go further, I did give testimony, to the architectural plans the last meeting.
I do have questions.
Okay.
Let me get first. Or that's all right.
Just to remind you, you're still under oath from the last meeting, okay? Sir? You're still under oath from the last meeting?
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, yes.
Okay, all right. That's- Okay, so let me just, so we're clear. No change has been made in the architectural plans since the last meeting?
No.
Okay, so I know Mr. Guines has some questions. Maybe we can, do you want to start with whether or not there's any board questions?
Let's start.
The clapboard siding, you were thinking something more of a hardy board. Would that be possible?
Yes. Clapboard siding is a generic term. It could be, wood, hardy.
We were just looking at, if we're gonna do something new, and on most of our new stuff, we like to go with a higher end material. We like to stay away from aluminum, vinyls, that kind of stuff.
I agree, I have no problem with hardy.
We like decorative, cornice around the edges of the roof. We like design features, architecturally pleasing design features, or at least the front facade. The rest of it, we want something better than aluminum or vinyl.
Is there any way you can incorporate a little bit more stone into the project? Or brick?
It's possible. Could you be more specific?
The front facade, I would say focus on the front facade, right? Use of a couple different materials, it's fully stucco right now, right?
The
Minus
front, yeah,
the footing of the house.
And around the sides for a raise.
Yeah, this is a cement foundation basically around the bottom, and then it's the stucco, right?
Yes,
Up to the top.
yes.
So if you could incorporate maybe 3 different materials into the front facade, and then the sides and the rear, maybe stick with like a hardy board.
Yeah, no, I said, I have no problem with the hardy plan.
Okay.
On the second floor, there are 4 bedrooms and 4 full bathrooms.
Yes.
We're thinking 1 master bathroom and then a bathroom for the other 3 rooms, apartments,
Okay.
bedrooms. We don't feel like every bedroom, well, I don't feel like every bedroom should have a bathroom.
No, I understand. My client, the applicant, requested that to be part of the program. So, I would have to leave that up to him.
Are there any other?
It's really my things right now. There's no way every bedroom on the second floor needs a bathroom. It's a little overkill. It's more like a boarding house
Yeah.
than an actual house.
Yeah. I mean, and sure, I can cut back, but I would like my client.
We have,
If I can speak to him.
Yeah, we could,
Well, let's finish the comments first, because we're talking about the bathrooms. I know I have a concern that I would like it to come in a couple of feet, because it's sort of on the property line. Can we come in a couple of feet?
Oh, on the side property line? Well, I mean, it does, we're building what's allowed. The footprint is allowable. And
But you're building something that's big, and the neighbors next door on each side, the houses are not that. So
Well,
if you moved in, it might be more appealing.
Okay, well, before we go further with this, I just want to comment. I did look at all of Mitchell Street, and especially with the intent of understanding the context of the street. And I realized the adjacent houses here are mainly 1.5-story Cape Cod style houses, but there's also several 2-story houses, some just as much bulkier, if not more, than this. So in terms of context, I don't really have a problem with it, but like I said before, I mean, we want to please the board, but we are building what's allowed by the ordinance.
I understand that, but I'm worried about the neighbors, it being too close, too huge of a house for me. That's just my opinion. Anybody else?
I can go into a little bit of that. So I'm feeling out what you guys are saying. So what we're looking at is, it seems like they want to reduce the number of bathrooms in all the bedrooms. And I'm also seeing that we have 4 parking spaces and potentially 5 bedrooms, which is a mismatch as well. So I think the board would really like to see a parking space per bedroom. So if we're kind of stretching it a little far right now, so maybe if we pull it in a little bit, not only will that make the board happy, but that might also make some of the neighbors happy. If your client is willing to do so.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're asking me, you know,
Well, we know-
my opinion or my reaction, I can't say anything more than what I've already said.
No,
Yeah,
it's
if you're-
definitely,
If you're telling us it's a, you know, requirement for, you know, prerequisite for approval, that's, you know,
They're not
that's
telling-
another.
they're
I'm not telling you to do anything.
That's right, we're trying to.
I'm telling you that maybe though, at some point in time, it might be a good idea to take a 5-minute recess and have an
Yeah.
actual conversation with your client, because you're getting hit with this without having had a chance to really talk to him, which isn't fair to you either. So
Yes.
I think to be fair to you and your client,
Yeah.
you're hearing the board's concerns.
No, I appreciate
I
that.
think
I'm
we should-
accustomed to being in this position between you and my client.
Yeah.
Maybe we do that.
That's the way my life is.
Because we put a couple requirements
Are
on.
there any
yeah,
other
we did
architectural
put some
things?
requirements that were there.
Is there anything else, anybody else have any other
Anything
comments?
else that
Nobody?
we want to require?
Yeah, I would do that before we open to the public for questions.
The
just
stormwater-
so otherwise, you're gonna get all questions about this.
Yeah. So, we'll take a 5-minute recess,
Okay,
go speak with your client,
Okay.
and we'll come back in 5 minutes.
okay.
Do I need a motion?
No, just get back. You got an opportunity to talk with your client.
Yes, okay.
Anything you wanna add?
Yes, I would
Subtract,
like
which
to,
case could be.
yeah, I would like to respond to this conversation with the following changes. We will move the direction.
Easterly.
The east wall, the one that's closest to the house next door, move that 2 feet away from, another 2 feet away from the property line, so there's a 7-foot side yard. But we would also like to move the other side 1 foot. No, just take 2 feet off the side yard here, but add 1 foot on the shorter segment of the building on the other side.
Okay, does,
And-
I'm not as familiar with that side. Is that side, will that create a variance on that side, of 1
Oh,
foot variance?
no, we're not close to no, we're not close to
Okay,
any
so
side yard,
You got 31 feet
So
on
it's
that
being,
side?
so it's being moved to that side,
yeah.
not creating a variance on that
No.
side, and giving an extra 2 feet
2
on
feet
the
on
other side.
the other side.
And there's
Pardon?
31 feet
It
on
looks
that
like
side
that.
of the house?
What was the side that you're taking away from now? How many feet were there and how many?
There's 5.
5 you're adding 2,
It's
so
a
it's
5,
7.
it's a, sorry, I need this. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we have on the site plan, I'm gonna use right and left, my directions are
Okay.
hazy tonight. On the right side of the site plan, we have a 5-foot side yard. We will make that 7 feet side, but we want to add, in response to that, add on the left side of the building 1 foot.
And so what will the side yard be on that side, on the left side? The east, I think that's the east side.
Are you sliding the building, or are you just taking square footage off it?
It's 26 feet,
Yeah, it says 26.
Yeah, the other side yard on the left, where the parking units is a 26-foot yard, so that would be 25 feet.
Okay, so that's, which is more than enough.
So that conforms.
Right.
So you're not sliding the building over, you're shortening the one side?
Yes, and adding a little bit, I mean, it's
So
a
the
little,
house, the
it's
width of the
plus and
house
minus.
is 1 foot shorter then?
The width, yes,
Okay.
and we'll revise the plans to show this, they'll be in scale.
And the bathroom?
Okay. Upstairs on the second floor, we would like to have the master bedroom with its own, ensuite bathroom and closet, and then we will create one bigger bathroom for the remaining 3 bedrooms.
So the bathrooms will be revised from, was it 4 to 2, or is it 5 to 2?
From 4 to 2 bathrooms. On the
4
second
to
floor.
2 on the second floor?
Yes.
Okay.
2, 3, 3.5.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so you're in agreement with everything at this point?
Yes, the client, the applicant has agreed to this.
Does any of the board have any other comments, or?
We were talking about 5 parking spaces, because you actually have 5 bedrooms.
Well, there is a guest room on the first floor, but we can make that, I want to leave the room there, we'll make that a private, a home office.
Bedroom.
So the solution to that would just be really to add one more space. You have the driveway right next to the house, right? Looking at the driveway. It's a 2-car wide and it's 2 deep.
Yeah.
The one closest to the house, you could technically add another spot, go 3 deep. That'll get you to 5.
I would want to speak to my client about that. I mean, the problem I have with it is that you're taking away, we'd be taking away, landscaping, we'd be taking away,
Parking spot,
lawn area and so
landscaping.
forth, and adding impervious area, which,
What do you guys want there?
I mean, parking is always an issue.
Yeah. If you can keep a car off the street, that pull into the driveway, we'll rather have that.
okay. Well, my client has agreed to adding a 5th parking space.
Okay.
I don't agree with it myself, but that's, that's okay. It's
One of the struggles of the
I want
neighborhood.
us all to agree.
Yeah.
Can we just get a recap of so what's there gonna be 2 full bathrooms upstairs?
Yes.
And what's gonna be down here? Is this the
Same.
half bath?
There's a half bath and a small full bath.
And you say you're not making a guest room, you're making it an office.
Well, we just added a parking place.
So it's gonna be a bedroom.
In
Just
response
choose
to
one or the other.
Mr. Young's
To get from
issue.
our-
So it can be a bedroom or a home
Full
office.
Yeah.
So that way it
So
conforms.
there's gonna be 3 full baths in the whole house?
Right.
So 3.5 baths.
3 full and 1 half bath.
There's a half bath also.
The half bath is just for
Right.
guests at the end of the hallway.
Is that everything?
I'm good.
Good? It's good?
All right, any other requests? I'm gonna close this portion, and I'll open it up to the public. You can ask about, oh, yes, 1 second.
Amzad Seema Mursalim, the applicant.
Please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Right. Spell your name for the court reporter.
Amzad,
I'm sorry, say again.
A-M-Z-A-D.
Is that your first name?
Yes.
Okay, last name?
M-U-R-S-A-L-I-M.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, the reason why I have wanted like multiple bathrooms, I'm having an issue right now at my house. I have 3 full baths where I'm living right now, and it's an issue with me and my kids. When they go in there, it's an hour and more for each kid, believe what I'm telling you. And it's the reason why I had wanted to add more bathrooms. Another reason is my extended family are huge. My uncles and aunts, there are 17 brothers and sisters. 17, living out the extended family. So when they come from Canada, they come visit, sometimes they spend a day or two, then they go back. And that's the reason I had wanted more bathrooms, because it's an issue. I'm having that issue at home right now, and it's the reason why I had wanted all these bathrooms, because I have girls. The guys will just run in and run out, but not the girls,
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why. Other than that, out in another parking space, which is good also for us, On the other hand, neighbors were concerned about the height of the building and the size of the building right in Mitchell Street. And I think
Somebody's a bad or somewhere around here.
Please do not exit that way. Everybody, when they leave, exit through the middle.
yeah. So, where I was going?
About the
Yeah.
big house.
Their house is right in Mitchell Street, bigger than what I'm proposing to build. So I don't see what's an issue. It's not that I'm asking the council, for like a mansion. It's within what is allowed, and a concern was raised about, water seepage and this and that, and I wanted to address all of us, I was shocked when I came here the last time, there were so many objections. Why objection is good? I'm not asking to build like a strip mall, or like a nightclub. It's just a single family house, And this goes for all of us. When we live in a society, we have to be very, very cautious with our neighbors. Irrespective of our culture, irrespective of our belief, and this is something that we all need to understand, my wife says I think a lot, sorry for that. But I would like to go back centuries ago, in some culture, your neighbor is part of your deed, they entitle. Like if I'm a rich person in my neighborhood, my neighbor is entitled to something that I got. That's how some culture is. And it still exists today. For instance, again, if something happened in our neighborhood, we always have neighborhood watch, we look out for each other, irrespective how obnoxious a neighbor might be. If something happened, who runs? Not our brothers and sisters who live 5 or 6 blocks away, our neighbors. We look out for each other, And this is something that we must inculcate in our habit, an everyday habit. I do not want to go and when I come out in the morning, I see my neighbor, and tell him good morning, and that good morning doesn't feel, it must have some kind of amorous feeling among us. There must be love. There must be, when I moved in there, my neighbor, my left side neighbor was that neighbor who complained a lot. Complaint is good. We all need to understand that. We object, we complain. It's something that we live with. We look at it, we understand it, and we try to analyze it. And wherever objection is, we try to correct it. That's what we are here for, to make corrections. But we must live neighborly. My neighbor, her grandkid, my grandkid play on the same street. What I want to tell my grandson that don't go play with them, that the neighbor is not good. Is that what we want in our life? Is that what we want to tell our grandkids? That the neighbor is not good, don't go over there? No, we don't want that. We want to live happily. Like I said, irrespective of culture, creed, belief, our nationality, we all want to live peace and harmony. If something happens to our neighbor, who runs first? It's our neighbor if something happens. Not the fire department comes after, the police comes after. Our neighbor. We are here to watch out for each other. For instance, my neighbor, there's a yardstick when the surveyor came, put a yardstick, my property line runs a little bit into her yard, like about 12 to 18 inches. The next day I saw the property mark is in my, through the property mark. I did not complain, you know? I said, am I gonna fight my neighbor, you know, for a piece of land? Where I'm living right now, my neighbor fence extend like 4 feet into my yard. I didn't complain. You know, when we passed away, you know what left is our legacy, is what we did, not how much money we have, is what we left behind. Our integrity, our honesty. You know, that's what is left behind with us. Not our money, money doesn't go with us. It's a material thing. We shouldn't be fighting over material thing. If someone wants to build a house, hey, I'm happy for you. You know, good for you. As long as it doesn't impede with our belief, with our culture, as long as it doesn't impede with our neighborhood, you know, because we don't want, you and I, you don't want someone to come in a residential neighborhood and put up a motel or put up a strip club or some sort. No. That is a no-no for all of us, you know. But if someone wants to put up a single family house, what's the issue?
You know, can I just interrupt you for a second, because I think you've said some very positive things here, but you have to understand what this board's job is.
Correct.
This board's job, you know, for all we know, you could sell this property the day after you move in, and your neighbors will be stuck with whatever house you built, and the next person who buys it, they may not have the same approach to community that you're speaking about today. So this board's job is to analyze the plans that have come before and to determine whether or not the subdivision and the variances should be granted. You make some very good points, and it's lost on a lot of people today about living in a community and being watchful for your neighbors. All of that is very true. And once you build this house and move into it, you're going to have that opportunity with all of your neighbors. But this board's concern is about the house, because the house will probably be there long after the people on this board are on the board.
Correct.
So I hope you understand it. Their
We all
concern
understand
is,
that, you know. And like I said, you know, I'm not asking to build something, you know, way above what the board would allow, you know. And that was my opening statement.
well, let me just say this, to the extent that it matters, and I don't know what the board will vote, but you've shown your willingness to make some concessions tonight to the board, which I think is great, because you're here, you don't have counsel here to represent you, you're on your own doing this, and I think that you've shown some good faith by agreeing to some of the changes that the board has talked about, which are also some of the concerns of the neighbors. So I think you are showing, you're showing yourself to be a person who's willing to work with the board and the neighborhood. So to that end, I compliment you. And I also appreciate what you're saying about community, but at the end of the day, you recognize that what this board's job is.
We all do. We all do. And respect to the board. You understand. Like I said, if I hurt anyone with whatever I'm saying, please forgive me. It's not like I want to put my belief or my culture or anything else into somebody else's life. But I'm just saying, you know.
And hopefully, the neighbors do see that you made concessions to try to alleviate some of their concerns. And you guys can have that community togetherness that you want.
Correct. That's all we want, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
So we'll go, well, got the public to have questions.
Okay.
So, who has questions? We'll start with Mr. Hinton. Come up and get sworn in.
Are we gonna do questions, or are we gonna do?
Gary Hinton, 307 Fairway Avenue,
This is
Belleville.
only questioning.
Questions?
Questions, well, he testified too, so you can question.
I got questions for him.
Okay, okay. You have the architect and so why don't we start with if you have any questions for the architect? Okay, all right, thank you.
I wasn't here in the beginning, so I don't
Okay.
know.
No, that's okay,
all that.
thank you.
My questions for him is, what size is your family?
What was the question?
His family, what size is his family?
What size?
He's got kids?
Yeah, that's really not a relevant question to the,
Well, it's leading up to something,
okay.
Just say this.
all right? So
What's the main question you have? Or I imagine this is gonna be leading up to a comment that you have about the property.
okay,
Is that
yes.
more or less correct?
Can
Okay.
you just say my comment?
Well, you can, but not at this point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be procedural, I know it's a pain in the neck.
Well,
But if
he's
you have a
talking
comment-
about his family, and that's why I have questions of what he said.
Well, he didn't, it's really not relevant. He's just expressing the fact that his family's gonna live in the building. But if you have a comment, when the time comes, please come up and share.
We got time for that, don't worry.
Any other questions? Yeah, come on up. And Strictly?
Yeah, of course. My son is.
Could you give your name again?
Sure, Jeff Falduno, 13 Mitchell Street.
Thank you.
My son is what his grandkids play with. It's very nice to see. Lots of unpack there. I agree with most of his sentiments. Felt like there's some insinuations. I want to address those. But really what I want to say is, like, is this where we're at? Like, the architect said, oh, we're building what's allowed. Like, is that really where we're at? Like, we're building what's allowed? I'm going to get there.
No, you're gonna get to a question.
I am going to get to a question.
Because I know you got lots of comments,
I do.
and I know
All right,
you
so
want
then I'm
to
just going to get straight to the questions.
Okay, thank you.
When you looked at Mitchell Street, did you see these houses? These are the houses you saw? These are the houses?
Let the record reflect the architect is shaking his head, yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then you also brought up the other large piece of property. That's 4,000 square foot, which is smaller than what he has. And is that the house that you were talking about? This is the house, correct? Yes?
One of them.
One of them. There's another 4,000 square foot house on Mitchell
Oh,
Street?
I don't know.
Oh, no,
I don't know
there's-
the area, but I'm just saying there.
All right, so would you agree that there is no other 4,000 square foot house on Mitchell Street?
I wasn't, I don't know the floor area.
This is a 4,000 square foot house. It's currently for sale, by the way. It saved you guys a lot of trouble if you need a 4,000 square foot house. It's already there. This is another picture with 3 cars in the driveway, 2 in front. This is an accurate photo of the other house.
I don't know, what house are you referring? What's
I'm
the-
referring to 22 Mitchell Street, which is the other large house that he used as comparable to the 1.5-story Cape Cod's on this house. That house again is for sale. It's for sale now. It's been on the market since before our last meeting.
Sir, we need a question.
I'm going to get there. I'm sorry. I don't mean it like that. I'm just nervous, you know. The house has been on the market since before the last meeting, which is 56 days. The average house in Essex County sells in 27 days. What is like the definition of insanity? That's one question. Doing the same thing over and over again. What makes you think that when this house goes for sale, it's not going to be in the same situation where we have this house no one wants, the taxes are over $20,000, $23,000.
I mean, you're.
I'm asking, we're talking about like the
No,
neighborhood. Okay, so
you gotta.
you let him go to
Wait.
Mr. Smith goes to Washington speech, and I can't just.
He's the
That's a
applicant.
good summary, but it's a good summary, but it's not questioning.
Why do you think this house will end up in any different state than the other house that's currently unsellable and has
I'm not
20
gonna,
people living in it?
I know, everybody knows the point you're trying to make.
Yes.
This gentleman is an architect.
Yeah, that's all.
His job is
So,
not to
okay.
make, his
All
job
right,
is
then I'll
to
be back next time
design.
for comments.
You
Thank
don't
you.
need to walk away mad. I'm
I'm
just
not
trying
mad. No,
to
no.
explain to
I'm not,
you
really not.
that this guy is designing the house that his client wants him to
Oh, I
design.
do have a question about that then. I do. Because we're talking about like the height and then how close it is and like an extra 2 feet, like 5 feet and 7 feet. My initial suggestion for a solution or a compromise would be to flip the house, like to flip the parking from the left side to the right side. So it's on this side, then, I don't know if the butts the right word, 13 Mitchell Street. So this way at least you don't have this giant looming house there. Is that possible to do that?
That's an architectural question. I gotta be
Yeah, so I can't bring it back. I was all excited. I finally got it.
The answer is no.
No, there'd be variances.
And the
Would that affect that stormwater system that you had?
No, it won't affect it, but there'll be variances.
But if there's like 30 feet on one side, like why, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why that would affect the variances. So I'm not like giving you a hard time, I'm just curious.
You'd have a rear yard, if you flip the house, you'd have a rear yard setback variance.
But against his own, he also owns that property.
I'm just
I
telling
don't
you.
know, I'm just
How
asking,
the
I don't know how
variance,
it
the
works.
variance is a variance, doesn't matter who lives behind you or not.
Maybe you're
Okay.
arguing with himself over the variance. That's just my question, you know, I'm just saying, that would solve a lot of problems, because it moves the house, like, an actual, like 7 feet is, whatever, you got a 6-foot fence, and you gotta, I don't know how many 2.5 stories are. You flip it, I feel like that's a good compromise. That's all. That was my suggestion. Good.
Okay, who else has a question? For the architect. Anyone else has a question? I'm gonna close this portion down. All right. Excellent.
Sir, there's no other witnesses to testify, correct? Did you have something else you wanted to add?
I would like to just make a final comment, if it's allowed.
Sure, but do you want to wait till after the public speaks?
Oh,
Or is
sure.
it architectural
Sure.
specific?
Yeah.
Is the comment specific to your architectural plans?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so
And,
why don't you
know,
make
just-
that now in case they want to comment on it after
Oh,
hearing?
okay, sure, thank you. First of all, I want to say that, I believe our client, the applicant, has been very, very accommodating regarding the, the ordinance requirements. And I did appreciate his, feelings about the neighborhood, but that's not entirely what we're here for. But I think he has been really very accommodating. I think the changes that we're offering, we're proposing are very fair. I just want to run through it. We're gonna create a 7-foot on the right side of the plan, and next to the small house, a 7-foot rear yard, and add on the left side of the plan by the driveway, add 1 foot. Okay, so there will be a slight reduction in floor area. We will add, the client has agreed to add a parking space, even though it adds impervious area, so that the guest room or bedroom on the first floor can conform to the parking formula. The second floor has 4 bedrooms. He's agreed to 1 master bedroom with 1 private bath and the closets, and we will create 1 bathroom for the other 3 remaining bedrooms. So that is our response. I think it's a very, very fair response, considering that we want to fit in with the neighborhood, and at the same time, my client wants to be able to build what he is allowed to build by the zoning ordinance. The house, one other comment, the total area of the house, the 2 floors, is about 2,800 square feet. So, in my opinion, that's not a massive house. It's not 4,000, it's 2,800. So,
It's 2 floors,
You
right?
also had agreed to use 3 different materials on the front side
oh,
of the house.
yes, no, I don't have any problem with the,
Right.
finishes. My main concern right now is the plan, any changes to the
Right.
mass of the house and so forth.
Okay. So, are you finished? I don't want to...
Yeah, that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
So, at this point, I'm going to ask that the audience has summarize whatever they would like to say about the project. No more questions, no more anything, just voice your opinion.
I just want to ask one question. Is that a center hall?
What's your name, please?
Lynn Falduda. When you enter the front door, it's the center door, that's your staircase, right?
Yes.
So that in a couple of years, when they want to make it 2-family, that's already mirror image on this side and this side, right?
There's no intent to make a 2-family house.
Well, it's just he and his wife. His other children live in the house behind him. My grandkids play with his grandkids. as far as when I met him, there was nobody else living in that house but he and his wife.
Yeah, but I can't speak to that.
No, I know, but that's why I'm saying, it's gonna be a variance eventually for a two-family.
Well,
That's what's violation.
Yeah, that would be a violation.
Be
That's
fined
that's
pretty
out
hefty if
before
they
the
do that.
board.
What is?
If they try to convert it to a two, they can't do that. It's a single-family zone. So if somebody converts it into a two-family,
You gotta remove this.
can you hear me?
Show myself.
I feel like I'm talking louder than this thing is being on.
Not working anyway.
They're not working, right? So
I hear you.
you can, as long as you can, it's all
Go ahead,
right.
honey, what were you saying?
So it's a one-family district.
Exactly.
If anybody does anything, even the house that you guys mentioned, we know that house, they're a problem house. The house is not selling because it's beaten up, right? So when it does, and hopefully it does, that's cured with the new owner. Meaning the new owner is not the same as the last owner, hopefully, right? In what we're saying here, this is a one-family district. If he ever tried to convert it to a two, he'd have to come back in front of a board, a more difficult board than us, because that's not a permitted use in the township. If he did it without permits, the second someone ratted on him, he would be hit with a lot of fines. The fines for that are up to $1,000 a day, or jail time, whatever they want. So, okay?
All right, why don't we go back to letting the public testify and swearing them in so we can.
All right, so who would like to make testimony? Mr. Haynes, come on up. We need you to get sworn in, and then you can...
I think Barry Hittenfield from Fairway Avenue.
Please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony on this application will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
No.
Well, then.
That's good.
That's the first time anyone said that. To me.
You said that the last time.
I don't know if I was here for that.
That's good. All right, so to answer the question that I was going to ask the fellow here about, is that he has his family in the other house next to him. All right. We have no problem with any ethnic groups. That's we were mentioning that, we have no problem with that. Our main concerns are the problems that we're having in Belleville right now. Our schools are overcrowded. They're trying to raise our taxes $400 on average house and everything. And what's happening more often is they're picking your family here. You said you have a lot of family, 17, I think you said. You have them move in and now.
No, they're Canadians.
Excuse me?
They live in Canada.
So if they come and they move in with you, then they're gonna be in our school system. We can't stop them. If they live here, they have to take them in the schools. This is what happens. This is what's happening. We see this whole new up and now. They're over developing. Our schools are been overcrowded, and a house is big for only 2 people. I don't understand the need for a house that big. So, I'd like to see you scale it down, but that's up to the board.
Actually, it's not me, my wife alone. I have 2 other kids.
They'll live with you?
And they're grown.
No.
They're grown. They're adult.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, that would like to...
To get these pictures in no matter what. Jeff Aldudo, not all views expressed, or that whole disclaimer that they said. Anywho, so it's like, here's where we're going, back to the building, what's allowed. Like, we can also hear, like, oh yeah, it's all allowed, everything's allowed, let's all just pretend like we haven't been doing this, as a career. Everything is on the up and up, everything is as they say it is. I have no reason to mistrust the applicant, but I'm just saying, we've seen this already with the house. I keep going back to that house because that house is the vein of Mitchell Street. Since that house has been nothing but trouble. The problem with the house that size on Mitchell Street is the taxes are extremely high. That house, taxes are like $23,000. It's been on the market, we've talked about this, $23,000 for that house. And they haven't been made in 2024, by the way, so that just lets you know. The last guy couldn't sell it. I remember having a conversation with the guy because there was flooding in his basement. I went down, he went for an open house. I was like, I've got to see the inside of this house. And there was water in the basement. If you can't get rid of water in the basement for an open house, like you're in trouble, you know? So there's a reason that whoever designed Mitchell Street in their infinite wisdom decided to make it a bunch of 1.5-story Cape Cods with room to expand back, you know? And which some of our neighbors have done, but it hasn't been excessive. There's never been this much excess. And so then we talk about, this is kind of cool, but we're talking about, oh, America, you know, like this is America, we're not, it's not about our culture and it's all this. I don't care, like this is America, you can do whatever you want to make you happy, but you cannot do that at the expense of someone else. You cannot say, I want to build this house because it makes me happy, and, you know, I just squeeze in and I fit the ordinances. I'm so sorry that you wake up in the morning and you have no sun shining through your windows now. So sorry that you have a giant fence 7 feet from your house. So sorry that there's cars walking up and down the street all the time. We know cars, people open the door, they throw their garbage on the floor. People do that now. People just do it. It adds, it's a detriment to the neighborhood. I would have no problem if the applicant was saying, you know what, I'm gonna build a nice little, you know, a normal Cape Cod, maybe a 1,700 square foot or whatever, for my wife and I when our family comes to visit. You know, like that's fine, it has nothing to do with that. It's just the size of the house. It doesn't fit the neighborhood. There's a reason it's not there. And again, like I said earlier, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We should not have to build another giant house on this block for it to be sitting unsold for years. We have that already. This is that's the house. This is the house. This is what you're gonna point at. I'm gonna be back here in 5 years just to say I told you so, because no one is gonna be paying that much taxes to live on a house with no property and to just have water problems. It's just basically it, you know, it's like everything is done, and I lived with my mother, you know, for whatever, how many years. I know she didn't, you know, she is what she is, nothing terrible. I wouldn't say she's like a bad neighbor.
No.
But it's like, everything, at the end of the day, she's the only neighbor next to him. She's the only one who's asking to sacrifice something. Oh, I'm gonna take 2 feet from here, and I'm gonna move it here, I'm gonna give myself a foot here. I'm gonna have my driveway here. Great. I'm gonna take 4 small bathrooms and make 2 big bathrooms. Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. Here's my home office. Let's all pretend it's a home office. We're all playing this game. We're all pretending like everyone's on the up and up, and that's not true. And the only person at the end of the day who's suffering is Lynn Falduno. She's wanting us to live with this giant house next to her. She has to live with the sword of Damocles of flooding hanging over her head every time she goes away, every time she's at home, every time she's not at home, is there gonna be flooding in that basement. That's what the reality is. She's the only one who's being asked to sacrifice something. You can give a few concessions. You want to give a good concession? Make it a normal-sized house for you and your wife and when some of your family comes to visit. That is a normal concession. That is what this is about. This isn't about, you know, this is the way it is. I have all these people. I welcome anyone who wants to come here and make a better life for themselves, who wants to bring family over and make a better life for themselves. That's beyond the point. That's moot and that's loaded. The reality is, Lynn Falduno is the only one who's being asked to give up anything. She's being the only one who's asked to sacrifice something. And you guys can laugh, and you know, she's nice and she's got a good personality. But at the end of the day, when this is all said and done, and you guys forget this even happened, she's gonna wake up every morning with this house next to her. That's something to remember before you approve this. So that's that. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? No other comments? All right.
Any comments? Just quick.
State your name for the record.
Cynthia Meekassa. I'm the resident that lives directly across the street from that shithole. That's the only place we can comment on it. I'm sorry. Our, do you need to?
Oh, thank you. You swear the testimony you shall
You
give to
betcha.
be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You betcha. That's our concern. It has nothing to do with culture. It has nothing to, our neighborhood is probably the best, okay? So it has nothing against him personally. It has a fact with the water issue, because we've dealt with it, and we've dealt with it with Ida. When I tell you 4.5 feet in my basement, you know, I had my whole basement destroyed. They had their whole basements destroyed. So, yeah, you're gonna have it all rearranged, and it's gonna be funneled out. Where's the water gonna go? Is it gonna go back into the fields behind Ray Cure's house? That's a swamp. And public service doesn't even wanna take care of it half the time. We have to call them to tell them to come out and cut it, and clean it, and whatever. So now they're just impacting it. So again, it's nothing personal, but we've dealt with this big house situation now for 10 years, 15 years. The noise, the no parking, it's run like a boarding house, you never know who's living there, how many kids are coming in. The school buses beat their horns like crazy because the kids aren't ready when they show up. So now we're gonna build another monstrosity for God knows how many. So that's really our concern. As neighbors, it has nothing personally against this gentleman. We've been dealing with this on a cul-de-sac, a dead end, since they built this big house, which we don't know how they got away with building it, because it was a little cape. And then all of a sudden, the cape's gone, and we have this huge house here. Okay, so that's really, the water issue, and the parking issue, and being run like a boarding house, and the additional people, has nothing to do with what kind of people we are, because we are most of us have been there. Lynn's been there since the 70s. I've been there 30 years. The other couples, they've been there over 30 years. We've been there for a very long time. We're Belleville people. We're born and raised here. We just are concerned about our neighborhood and having to deal with another situation like we're already dealing with for a very long time. And that's all I have to say. It's nothing personally against this gentleman at all and his family, because we're very Christian people. And if anybody is, Lynn is, she works for the church. So, and I feel for her, because she is the one that's gonna have to deal with it. It's gonna be right on her. She's gonna have to look at this every morning, We take care of one another. And anybody can tell you that. My husband, our Yankee guy, is like neighborhood watch. Anything goes wrong, they call him.
Sentinel.
So we're not that kind of neighbor that closes our eyes to anything. We're just concerned about what's going to happen. That's all. Thank you for your time.
Are there any other comments before I close it? No? All right. Yes.
Could I, like to request another short break to speak with my client?
The Rangers are on.
Sorry. All right, I'll accommodate that.
Thank you.
5 minutes. Is there a motion?
With conditions.
Right.
We have conditions, so if we want to recite them.
Yeah, so the conditions that I have written down are that the property would be moved, or the building would be moved in an easterly direction so that it would create a 7-foot setback to the west. The building would move to the east, on the east side would move 1 foot, but still won't require a rear yard variance on that side. There's going to be an added parking space to make it 5 parking spaces. The second floor will have 2 full baths, one for the master bedroom, one for the other 3. Hallway bathroom for the other 3. And the town engineer will work with the engineer of the applicant to establish proper stormwater management on the west side of the property, including an additional inlet, Tom, on the...
You'll probably need a few inlets.
They would have to get approval from the town engineer on the engineering on that side of the property, so that it is in conformity with what Tom wants.
Good, Tom? One more?
You're going to upgrade the architectural...
The architectural materials.
Oh, there'll be, yes, using at least 3 different materials on the front of the house, and one of them being hardy board material.
For the rear and the sides. Rear and the back,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so, is there anyone, think of anything else that's not?
They brought up the wall.
Well, yeah, they're gonna work with Tom, and if the wall still is you're talking about the low wall on the west side of the property, if that's still something that works with the engineering, then fine, but if it's not necessary, then it'll be up to them if they wanna do it. miss anything, or are we
I
okay
think
with
you
that?
got it.
Okay, so there was a motion made by, okay, by Ms. Kwame.
I was second.
Roll call.
Chairwoman Alvarado,
Yes.
Mr. Venero,
Yes.
Mr. Banda,
Yes.
Ms. Guam,
Yes.
Mr. Guyan,
Yes.
Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
Okay, approved.
Okay, we'll move on to the next applicant, which is PB 2405, which is 202 and 215 Belleville Avenue. And the existing parking lot, which is 215, former when it was wet. Are you ready?
Good evening, Madam Chair, ladies.
Please step out to have your conversations. We're trying to hear the next case.
Don't worry about it. Listen, like I said, we raise all things on, trust our police. I understand. You have to agree to this. My grandson was
Mr. Henson,
Gary,
Mr. Henson.
could you step outside?
Have a conversation outside.
No.
I'm loud enough to go over this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but our.
Madam Chair, lady, members of the board. Council's name is Robert Gassion, the firm is Gassion Bamako. I represent the applicant in this matter, Meekassa LLC. My client is the owner of 202 and 215 Belleville Ave, the former site of the Red Shingle or Wet Gentleman's Bar, whatever you know it by, and the parking lot across the street that was used for parking for that business. The area has been designated as an area in need of redevelopment. In other words, the wet site and the parking lot has been designated. My client is here tonight seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval. My client is proposing a single-story commercial building at the former site of wet and a 17-unit building with 13 ones and 4 twos at the parking lot. The building is a proposed 4-story apartment building. The commercial site is where the Red Shingle was, and my client hopes to have a bakery at that location, but she does not yet have a tenant. The proposal is 100% conforming. No variances whatsoever are being sought. The witnesses you'll hear from tonight are Angela Barreto of Meekassa and Jackie Glace, the architect and engineer. I'd like to call my first witness. Excuse me while I move my case. My first witness, Angela Barreto.
Please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please give us your name and business address for the record.
Angela Barreto, first name Angela, A-N-G-E-L-A, last name Barreto, B as in boy, A-R-R-E-T-O, 34 Kendall Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey, 06040.
And you work for Meekassa?
I am the managing partner for Meekassa, that is M-E-E-K-A-S-S LLC.
And so you're testifying as a fact witness tonight, Bob, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. You may go ahead.
Ms. Barreto, what is your occupation?
I am a real estate developer.
And you're the managing, you've already said it, but I'm repeating it, you're the managing member of Meekassa LLC.
I am.
Does Meekassa own 202 and 215 Belleville Avenue in Bell?
Yes.
And for how long have you owned it?
A little bit over a year and a half.
Now, what was on the property at the time of your purchase?
On the 215 property is a one structure, they'll call it a men's club, known as Wet. And the 202 Belleville Avenue property, it's a parking lot.
Prior to your purchase, did you do a phase 1 on the property, both properties?
Yes, we did.
And did anything develop as a result of that study?
Nothing. Both studies come out with a no RECs, which means no recognized environmental conditions, no hazardous substances or petroleum products.
And did you also do a tank test?
We did.
And has the area been determined an area in need of redevelopment?
Yes.
when I asked you about your occupation,
Yes.
what did you do prior to being a developer?
So developer is my second career. My first career started after I graduated from engineering school. I also have a master's in business administration from NYU. I worked for 17 years for both Procter & Gamble and Colgate-Palmolive. Started as financial analyst, moved to marketing as marketing director. In my last years, I was an innovation specialist for both.
And your college degree is in engineering?
Yes.
So you have a familiarity when I ask you about the phase one, about the tank studies?
Yes.
Now, you have a development agreement with the Township of Belleville with regard to this site.
I do.
And do you have any prospective tenants at this time?
I don't.
What is your goal with regard to the former wet site?
So our hope, our vision is to knock it down to the ground, build a one-story commercial space, hopefully for a bakery cafe, where we're looking into a business that opens at 6, closes at 6, offers coffee, bakery items, sandwiches, kind of brings, vibrancy to the area, and we will have ample parking space in the back. So that is our goal.
Now, when you say you'll have ample parking space in the back, as a part of the redevelopment agreement, is that basically dedicated to the Township of Belleville?
So we will have 9 parking spaces in the back. 1 will be exclusive to the tenant, the other 8 are public parking spaces.
Now, you're a developer, and you also had a background as an employee with a major company. Can you give us just briefly why you decided you want to be a developer in Belleville, and why you decided to purchase that property?
Well, many reasons. We really looked at many towns, over 28 towns in different counties. What we like of Belleville are the location. We think it's a great location. We like the demographics for obvious reasons. And the specific location of these 2 properties, we like the proximity to the park. We do believe that the park is an asset to the township. It's the cherry blossom capital of America. We love parks, and we would like to continue staying close to this park.
I have no further questions to this witness.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? No? And the public, please. Mr.
Hinton has a question.
Let me grab Mr. Sheldon first. Well, no, I guess not.
You said that this area is an area of need of redevelopment. How did you qualify for that?
No, she doesn't have to qualify. That's an improper way. The town determines it's an area needs to redevelop.
Well, I'm going to ask you then, what is the qualifications for an area of need
Well,
of
there's,
redevelopment?
yeah, I don't think that's appropriate, but there are many qualifications, many areas that you can use to determine an area in need of redevelopment. The town hires a consultant, a planning consultant, to make that determination. We don't do that. So we have nothing to do with it. That's already been done, voted upon by this board and by the governing body already. So that's history. Not before the board tonight. What's before the board tonight is this application for a major site plan approval.
I just wanted to know because you said that it was an area.
It is. It's been designated as such.
Okay,
Okay?
I don't agree with it, okay.
Thank you, Mr.
And just so you understand, it's done. The board's not making that decision tonight.
Mr. Sheldon.
That's not before the board tonight. It's already been done by the municipality.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Michael Sheldon. I was happy to hear that the plan is to completely raise the wet building. That is a definite, right? It won't be renovated. The existing.
You're asking her the
Yes,
question.
the existing wet gentleman's club.
Yes.
That building will
Knocked
definitely
down
completely.
to the ground,
Okay, all right.
yes.
Pulverized, dismantled,
It's-
removed for perpetuity. Good. All right. Thank you. Thank you. The other question. It's already been acknowledged that the site has A-NOR designation. A-NOR designation is a prerequisite for a pilot for a long-term tax exemption. Do you have plans to seek any sort of tax abatement from the town council?
I think that's irrelevant to this application.
Well,
I object to it.
I mean, it's not, whatever she says here is just her opinion at the moment. It doesn't mean that the town will grant it or anything of that nature. I don't have any idea what the plans are, but I guess you could ask if there's already been plans submitted for.
Have you approached the council at this stage in an effort to seek any sort of long-term tax exemption or pilot?
We have.
You have, all right, thank you, that's all I wanted, thank you.
Just so we understand, I do not represent this applicant with regard to any
Right,
pilot program.
it's not really relevant to this discussion tonight anyway, but I think it's a question that's fair for the public to have asked if they've submitted and had discussions on it.
Any other questions for this witness?
Right here.
Come up and state your name for the record, your address, please.
My name is Alfredo Torres, 5 DeWitt Avenue. This happens to be right behind Bradesco, right in front of it, actually. Question is, I can ask a question about that as well?
Well,
No, the witness.
They're gonna be in the
Okay,
Later on.
okay, so then my question is this. You have a backyard, and do you have something that big behind you? Because that's what I'm gonna get.
You gotta ask those questions to the architect.
Yes, like
You
we'll
can-
go through the
Okay,
findings.
fine, because this is getting, it's a point of contention.
What is there now, sir?
Her house,
No, but on
the parking lot.
the parking lot that they're talking about, which is.
Yeah, where that's going, it's right up against them. And 2/3 of the space that that building's gonna, of where that space is gonna be, is against her backyard. She's my mother-in-law, and I'm speaking on her behalf because my English is better than hers.
That's perfectly fine,
That's
sir.
fine. All right, any other questions of this witness only?
How you
Yes,
doing? I'm Rafael Fernandez. I own 217 Belleville. So it's literally right next to the former Gentleman's Club. Glad is being demolished because of SORI. So, very, very happy about that. I just have general concerns because the properties are literally right up against each other. So it's literally right next to each other. So obviously the property is going to get demolished. Just concerns around my specific property because it's, again, right up against each other. And then also, because of the proximity and, and again, I don't know if that's something that we're gonna go over it later or whatever the case may be, but just more specific details around the construction
That's
process.
coming up.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's coming up.
yeah,
It's just
stay tuned.
yeah, okay, so I'll just wait for that.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for the witness? No. I'm going to close strictly for her. Come up and state your name and address, please.
Dora Linelli, on David Avenue. Can you spell your last name? L-U-N-E-L-L-I. Sorry, I have allergies. I have a question, so the parking lot that you guys are building there, is it parking lot, or is it two-story parking lot, or building and then the parking lot?
I think we'll go over.
Yeah, we're going to
Yes.
go over that.
Today?
The architect's going to
Right
go
now.
through
Okay,
it.
because you know what it is, literally, my kitchen, it's directly to the parking lot.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to sit in my kitchen and look at our parking lot, I really don't.
Well,
You
he's
know, I've
gonna
been
get,
there
Yeah,
for
you'll have
since
the
91.
opportunity to see
So
exactly
that's
what.
what it is.
Where
On
do you?
DeWitt, 15 DeWitt.
Do it.
Yeah, it's like literally across from.
Oh, I know where it is.
Where it is. That's all. All right, so.
Okay, we'll be discussing that. Are there any other questions for just this witness? All right, having none, I'm going to close this portion. Mr. Gassion, your next witness.
Yes, I'd like to call my next witness, Jack Ingles.
Mr. Inglese, please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you shall give on this application shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please give us your name and business address for the record.
My name is John, John Inglese, I-N-G-L-E-S-E. Everyone calls me Jack, I've had it for many years. My business address is 632 Pompton Avenue, Cedar Grove, New Jersey. And I'm a principal in the firm of Inglese Architecture and Engineering LLC.
You're testifying,
I'm sorry.
You're testifying tonight in what capacity?
I'm testifying as the project architect and engineer.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
For how long have you been practicing in the field of architecture and engineering?
I received a Bachelor of Architecture degree from New Jersey School of Architecture in 1980, a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from NJIT, essentially the same institution, in 1983, and a Master of Science in Civil Engineering from the same institution in 2005. I've had a license as a registered architect since 1983, and a license as a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey since 1984. Both of those licenses are current and have been continuously.
Have you testified previously before zoning boards and planning, and in particular, have you been in Belleville before?
I've testified before many towns in the state of New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, but I haven't been, and I've been to Belleville, but I haven't been to this board in, I think, over 5 years or so.
And in every one of those, satisfied. So my client, my witness is accepted as an expert in the field of architecture and the field of engineering. Did you prepare the site plan for the proposed project?
Yes, I did.
Did you prepare also the architectural plans?
Yes.
Would you review the locations of the property, just generally?
Certainly. We're talking about two parcels here, 202 Belleville Avenue, which is, as was described before, the parking lot from the former Gentleman's Club. So 202 Belleville Avenue has frontage on Belleville Avenue, and it's between Union Avenue and DeWitt on the north side of the street. The second property is 215 Belleville Avenue, where the nightclub was, and that's actually on the corner of Smith and Belleville Avenue.
Now, would you just briefly review the zoning? Of course, the zoning is an area in need of redevelopment, but just briefly review that, please.
Yes, both of these parcels completely included in the 202 and 215 Belleville Avenue redevelopment plan that was passed by the planning board and approved by the municipality. So these applications are being presented as being in conformance with the current redevelopment plan for the sites.
Okay, now would you please describe the existing site at 202 Belleville Avenue?
The existing site at 202 Belleville Avenue is a surface parking lot. It's essentially 100% asphalt paved. Not much to it. It's got a sidewalk frontage in front and a single driveway into what was the parking lot.
Then would you please describe the existing site at 215 Belleville Avenue?
215 has an existing single-story masonry commercial building, masonry and wood frame commercial building that covers most of the lot. The building extends most of the way down Smith Street. There's a small asphalt driveway at the very back, and then sort of an interior court that you don't see from Smith Street, but that faces the neighbor towards 217. So the building's sort of L-shaped, looks sort of bigger than it is, but single-story building. The rest of the lot is paved in one way or another, either concrete or asphalt.
Now, would you go on to describe the proposed structure and the proposed site for 215?
Okay, so what's being proposed for 215, let me get out of the way so people can see. We've got the existing site here, and we have the proposed site here. So what's being proposed for 215 is to demolish the existing building and to build a 1,711 square foot, single-story commercial building, a little bit higher ceiling height than what's there right now. I'll go into the interior floor plan in a second. The remainder of the site to the back is a parking lot with a single driveway off Smith Street, and then spaces up against the back of the building, and then spaces up against what would be the south side of the property. There's a narrow buffer of landscape shrubs around this corner. A 6-foot vinyl privacy fence has been proposed to enclose the parking lot from the adjacent yards. A small fenced-in trash enclosure in this corner here. There are, as was described previously, 9 parking spaces. The agreement here is that One of these spaces would be dedicated as an employee space. One would be striped as an accessible parking space for both passenger vehicles, and it would also be van accessible because there's an 8-foot access aisle next to it. And then the remaining 7 spaces, as well as the handicap space, would be open public parking with the understanding from the township that that will be metered public parking. We'll go into it later. There's the opportunity for this to be accessory parking to the other building, but overnight, because during the day this would be metered public parking, with the understanding that that would serve both this commercial space and potentially other businesses on Belleville Avenue.
Just briefly describe the ingress and egress to those 9 parking spaces.
You would come in the driveway off of Smith Street. There's an access aisle 22 feet wide down the center, and then you would either pull to the left into a space or pull to the right into a space. It's a typical, double-loaded parking.
So we'll stick with 215. Describe the proposed structure. You have some architecture, I assume, with regard to that.
Yes, indeed. So, again, it's a single-story building. There's an angled corner entrance at the intersection. There's large storefront openings on Belleville Avenue and 2 on the Smith Street side. When you come in the building, there's essentially an open L-shaped customer area that would have some open tables, counter bar seating at the storefront windows on both sides, and then a customer counter with the back left corner being dedicated as prep and kitchen space, which would have a stair down to a basement that would be available for storage and other utilities for the building. There's a single unisex accessible restroom that's available for customers and staff. There's a little inset in the building towards the back to sort of shield the electric and gas meter. And then there's a back door to the parking lot, which is primarily service, so that there's access right out into the trash enclosure. Customers would park in the lot and then just walk to the corner and come in the one public entrance. And then the parking lot is separated from, I said the parking lot is separated from the neighbor's yards by the privacy fence, and it's I'll say demarked from the Smith Street side by masonry piers and a wrought iron fence in the 2 landscape strips on either side of the driveway. So you can see into the parking lot from the street. There's no intention to try to enclose the parking lot because it's public parking, but there's some separation between the space and the sidewalk. And then there are 2, what we've shown so far is 2 bike racks in the street out here, a new street tree on Smith Street, and 2 new street trees proposed on Belleville Avenue. And we'll look at the outside. Actually, this is actually better. This is the view on Belleville Avenue. So there are these tall 9-foot-high storefront windows, 3 bays of that. The inset corner entrance with a fabric canopy over it. 2 more entrances, 2 more storefront windows on the Smith Street side. A band flush with the wall on either side that would be dedicated for signage. 2.5-foot-high decorative wood cornice at the top. The rest of this facade is brick with cast stone lintels and sills. And then on the parking lot side, this is the elevation that faces the parking lot. And while most of this is kitchen space, we've designed this to have insets in the brick with high windows into the kitchen, a high window into that customer area over the meter enclosure. And then this other area below the tall windows is designed to have a stainless steel grid system on it. It's a product called Living Wall that contains containers for plants to grow on a grid. So these would be this would be greenery on the wall, and then there's the service door. And then the cornice wraps around the back as well. And then the west elevation, it looks pretty bare because that actually, for its entire length, abuts the neighboring building, which we both have very close to zero setback there, but they are separate structures. I could probably address the gentleman's question from before. Yes, this building is being demolished, the building that's there right now is going to be demolished, and it is right up against his building. So, based on current standards, the building department is going to want to see some supervision of the demolition work in order to protect his property. And most of what comes down on that side wall is going to have to be brought down essentially by hand. You know, some of the building can be brought down by a machine, but when you're that close to someone else's building there, you're not going to use a back of a backhoe to pull a masonry wall down. So I think building departments are better at that right now, and they want to see that you have a plan for that, and that someone's going to be overseeing the workers doing that. And then, I've said too much, so what's your next question?
No, we're gonna change gears.
Okay.
Let's talk about the 202 lot.
Yeah.
And the proposed structure to go on that. Let's discuss that generally.
Okay, so on the 202 lot, what's been designed is a 4-story, 17-unit multifamily building. The residential units are all on the top 3 floors. The first floor is indoor parking and utility space and lobby, and I'll show you the plan in a second. Let's go with the site plan first. This building occupies the majority of the lot. It's set back 15 feet. The upper portion of the building is set back, well, the garage too, is set back 15 feet from the back property line, but the garage itself is essentially lot lined on both the east and west sides and at the front. And at the front, there's a recessed entrance to the main lobby. There's an overhead garage, motorized controlled garage door, and there's another entrance that's recessed over here, called an entrance. It's essentially an exit. This is the doorway that you'll see on the elevation on the left is essentially the exit from the second fire stair. But there are 2 stairs in the building. You come in the garage, there are utility spaces here on the left, water meter and sprinkler room, electrical service equipment, and a trash room. On the right is a lobby with a separate package room, access to the second stair, direct access then to the elevator that takes you upstairs, elevator machine room, and then the rest of the back here is handicap accessible parking space, bike storage, which we'll go into that later. We showed them as being on the ground, but this is actually going to have wall stacked storage on both sides of this space in order to get 17 bike spaces here. We only show, I think, 9 right now as just a single, like you pull it in and lock it. But then the rest of this is, there are 17 parking spaces, one of which is handicap accessible. I forgot to mention before that in that other parking lot, one of those spaces, well, actually the handicap space and the space immediately to the left of it will have access to an electric car charger. There'll be 1 car charger on 202. This building requires it requires the availability of 3 car chargers. New Jersey regulations now are 15% of the parking spaces have to be EV ready, and 5% right now in 2024 need to be EV available. So that means you have to run the electric and the utilities for the equipment for all 15%. In this case, that's 3 spaces. And you have to have the equipment available immediately for 5%. We're showing 2 double-headed car chargers, so that actually gives the availability for the handicap space and 3 other spaces to actually use those chargers. There's a narrow landscape buffer and privacy fence at the rear of the parking lot. The street on this one gets as well, new curb, sidewalk, driveway entrance, 2 new street trees. And if we go up,
Before you leave that, if you
Yeah.
would,
Yeah.
Mr. Iglesias, just review you did it, but a little more detail on the ingress and egress, if you would.
okay. So everyone that has access to this garage would have a controller like you would have on your private garage. So you could open the door, close the door. There'll be a rolling overhead door here. You come in the garage, there's a 2-way access aisle, and then again, you either pull into a space to the left or you pull into a space to the right. This one has a 21-foot, 7-inch aisle in the center, and then essentially 9 by 18 for the most part. I think there is the smallest spaces in this layout are 8'6" wide. The majority are 9 foot wide. So again, it's just like pulling into an aisle of a public parking lot where you're parking to either side with one common access aisle down the center.
Thank you. You were about to go to describe the building. You can continue with that, I think.
Yeah, I was going to go to the
Finish the site plan.
that was actually bigger. On the upper floors, to get this to work, the building is now turned 90 degrees, so didn't mean to confuse people, but this is, the right-hand side is the Belleville Avenue side. When you go up to the second floor, you either come out of the elevator, or you can go up one of 2 enclosed fire stairs. And what gets created up here is sort of a T-shaped corridor, and then a 2-bedroom unit, a 1-bedroom unit, 2 2-bedroom units in the center, a 1-bedroom unit, a 1-bedroom unit, and a common fitness room. This is the second floor plan. And then there's just minor variations as you go up to the next 2 floors, where the fitness room disappears and it becomes a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom at the back. The rest of the front is exactly the same. And then when you get to the top floor, the plan gets a little fussy looking, because when you see the elevation, we've created a mansard roof for the top floor, so the outside walls squish in and there are sort of dormer windows. But again, essentially you get a 2-bedroom, a 1-bedroom, 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 and then the back left corner has an amenity lounge and a small common outdoor roof terrace. So we kind of cut away the back corner of the building at the 4th floor, excuse me, to create a second common amenity space. And this is what the building looks like from Belleville Avenue. The palette here is similar brick, similar gray brick at the first floor, dark gray cast stone, a metal canopy over the main central entrance, a painted metal kind of minimalist garage door pulled in. The second 2 floors are hard coat cement stucco with score lines and raised detail around the windows. The windows and doors are all black with black railings at some of these openings, which are designed as sliding glass doors with kind of a Juliet balcony, essentially a railing just outside of the door. So it's a mix of double hung windows and sliding glass and Juliet balconies. And then the top floor has architectural gray shingles on a steep mansard that goes up to a parapet on the roof. And then the windows at the upper floor are treated as dormers poking out of that mansard treatment. And that goes all around the building. This is the rear elevation. So in the rear, you're actually seeing, if you were on the ground, you'd be seeing into the garage here, because the garage is open at that end. And then the same treatment at the second floor and the upper floor, and you can sort of see the wall, the mansard roof wall of the top of the terrace here and the door into that amenity space. And then on the sides, this is the west side. facing towards Union Avenue, and should have shown you, I'll go back and look at what's going on here in terms of setbacks. The first floor is essentially zero setback. The upper floors jog in minimally. The stair tower is the closest, it's a foot away. This wall here on both sides are 3.5 feet away from the property line in order to be able to do windows in those frontages. And that's what you're seeing here. So you've got a section of wall that's pulled in and has windows, a section of wall that's pulled in and has windows, and then a section of wall that's back out another foot that doesn't. The dormer window treatment again. The brick continues on the side along with the cast stone trim. And then the opposite side, facing the DeWitt direction, is essentially a mirror image of that, except you also see the cutaway for the Mandy Terrace at the top floor. So,
Now, I failed to ask you when you were dealing with the other property, any bulk violations whatsoever on this project?
no, this application requires no bulk variances at all. The setback coverage, height, it's designed to fit in the redevelopment plan's bulk requirements.
And going back across the street, any signage on that building?
On 202? Yes, on 202, there will be signage on 202, and what we've identified in the site plan application are these white surface-mounted panels where signage can go, but there's no, there is no design right now for the text or the visual of the sign on here, because that would have to that will happen when we get to the next step, which is what we've shown you right now is as much as can be described as a vanilla box for a bakery cafe. But when an operator is actually under lease to do that, it'll have a name, it'll have a theme, and they'll want to design a sign. So, and we'll have to come back. We'll either have to submit that to planning staff and/or come back to the board for any aspect of the tenant fit out of that space that requires such approval.
Before we get into responding to the two reports, I just have one more question. Garbage, how will it be removed from these two sites?
Well, 215 I explained a little bit better in that there is a enclosed trash corral in the back corner alongside the last space. The intention here is that there would just be a series of 6 35-gallon attached cover wheelie bins that would be for trash and recycling. This, being a commercial space, will have private pickup. So those bins would either be taken out of the enclosure here to the curb by staff or by the hauler when they're scheduling their pickups there. So it would be taken out on the Smith Street frontage from the rear yard. So that one's pretty straightforward. On 202, we've designed the apartment floors to have a common trash room on each floor with space for a chute, so that in this instance, tenants would leave recycling in a recycling bin at the trash room at each floor, and the super would bring the recycling down to the first floor. Trash would go directly into the trash chute and would come into the trash room on the ground floor level into a compactor that would compact it into a 2-yard rolling container. A building of this size with twice a week pickup would need 1 2-yard container for each one of those pickups. The room's been sized so that you can have the trash enclosure in here, have space for the recycling containers, and room for a second rolling container here, so that when you take one out, you put the other one in. And in the instance where it gets filled more quickly, you've got that second one there to be able to do a second, you have twice the capacity. And in this instance, the building super here would need to take that container, pull it out to the curb. When the garbage truck comes up to the curb, picks it up from the driveway. We can go into the question in the CME report if you want to about that. There was some question back and forth about how that would, whether that would work. I had conversations with Belleville DPW, and then a follow-up conversation with JSI Carting, who is the outside contractor that Belleville uses to pick up their trash. It's clear that a multifamily building in town can have public pickup, and they pick up from multifamily buildings. So there's no requirement that there be a private hauler here. He was a little bit concerned about their ability to pick up a rolling container on a busy street, although he says they do it. So we went back just as a check to see that if we had to go to the smaller 35-gallon wheelie bins and make people bring their trash down to the ground floor, that room is still big enough for 9 trash cans and 9 recycling. So that's actually our fallback position, but it's not what we would prefer. We'd prefer residents to be able to go to a trash room on their floor, put it in a chute, have it compacted, have less volume, and get it picked up by either the city or a private hauler. But I think, given the location, is it ideal? No. But do they do it all along Belleville Avenue? Yes. And it can work either way. So I'm confident that that's, it puts the onus of taking the trash from here out to the street on the building super, but in most apartment buildings, that's their number one job anyway, so, yeah.
So, now, did you have an opportunity to review Mr. Harris's report?
Yes.
I call your attention to that report, if I might.
All right.
Let's start on page 2, because I think that's the relevant place to start. Under zoning, number 2. Have you already adequately described everything probably except security?
On this list, I think so, but...
Just review the security for a
Yeah,
second.
well, I think, in terms of security...
You talked about the gate, but you didn't talk about any security camera or anything like that.
No. I was going to bring you into that response, I think. We've done it a number of different ways on properties like this. It's pretty common to put cameras in all the common spaces. Utility rooms, the garage, throughout the lobby, throughout the corridors on the upper floor, probably also in the amenity spaces. There's a fine line between being intrusive and being safe, but cameras are the easy way to go. And then that would be connected remotely to a third party monitoring agency. And same thing for the bakery, really. There would be cameras on the outside, at the parking lot, and on the 2 street frontages.
Next question I have is on the same page, and you reviewed it again, but again, number 3, under site considerations. Anything further with regard to the EV parking stalls in the proposed residential building?
And in the residential building, no. I think what we've, this one doesn't show them, the site plan does, but what we've proposed is to put that EV charger in between parking spaces so that it could serve 2 spaces with 1 charger, potentially, and starting with the line between the handicap space and the first space, because you have to provide availability for the handicap space. And you really want to put it between those 2 spaces, because in the instance when no one's using the handicap space, you put a charger in and no one's using it, because no one who doesn't have a handicap sticker is going to pull their car and charge their car in the handicap space, because that would get them in more trouble than not. So I think we meet the percentages with the 2 double-headed chargers, and I think we meet the location requirements based on the accessibility.
and the van accessible, you mentioned it already.
Yeah.
The ADA space, you have an ADA space, correct?
Right, and the ceiling height in the garage is designed around being able to provide the 8'4" clear that a handicapped van requires. Not only do they require an 8x18 space and an 8x18 access aisle if they're separate, it needs 8'4" clear in that garage.
Now, number 4, obviously this location is very different than the location of the previous property, which is located in what we used to call a bog. So this is a different location, but stormwater management, do you see any issues here, or?
Yeah, it still rains here. We have a building that covers the entire site, so the way we generally address stormwater management, and they're really two different sites. This one is large enough to fall under the town's stormwater management plan. The other site is below the threshold that this town's stormwater management plan requires reduction, but be that as it may, we'll address that when we get to 202, because we can still do that. On 202, what we have designed is an underground stormwater management system that is essentially is lengths of 24-inch high-density polyethylene pipe, solid, not perforated, so it's being used as storage. There's an inlet at the back that will pick up whatever small amount of rain hits the uncovered parking at the back. The roof drains from the roofs will all come down into the garage and tie into this system. There's one long length of pipe and then a side length here, and that was just to get us the volume we need. And then that enters a double-chambered structure near the entrance, and that lets that 2-foot pipe go into the first chamber. There's a wall between them with a smaller hole in it, and that smaller orifice hole is designed to, based on how deep the water is behind it, it's sized to limit the flow going out of the site to 3 state-established standards, which are 50% of the 2-year design storm, 75% of the 10-year design storm, and 85% of the 100-year design storm. So essentially, even though this lot is 100% paved right now, those standards result in stormwater leaving the site that's less than what leaves it now, just because of those reductions.
Now, number 5, can you comply with that request? Right below.
Yes. We do need to get him inverts here on the system, and the drawings don't show, they refer to the calculations, but they don't show the calculation report, so that will need to be submitted to Mr. Harris for his review.
Now, we're going on to number 6, and the lighting outside the building and in the park.
So, yeah, I didn't talk about lighting, and essentially lighting is handled with surface-mounted ceiling fixtures in the garage. That's most of the site. Surface-mounted wall sconces on the front of the building, and then there's a soffit light and a canopy over the main entrance. And the fine print that no one can read from wherever they're sitting right now are all the foot candle levels of the lighting at the ground based on those lighting fixtures. And I think we meet the requirements of the ordinance. The fact that the building is solid at the ground floor, and the fact that we have a 6-foot privacy fence at the back prevents those lighting levels from spilling onto the neighbor. It means that the lights in the back have to be carefully located a little bit lower so that the light's not spilling over the fence into somebody's yard. But we're getting the 0 numbers on all 3 back frontages. So, A, you're going to provide enough lighting for the parking, but B, you're not supposed to spill light on your neighbor's yard.
You just mentioned fencing. If you look at number 8, any further comment with regard to the recommendation for composite fence?
No, I think our typical detail shows a vinyl fence, but there's no reason why we couldn't change that to be a composite fence. So we'll agree to that.
Going to go on to zoning. I think you probably covered everything but number 4 of the zoning, is there anything you need to discuss further?
On 215, no, I think, I did touch on the fact that there will be a parking kiosk. I didn't say where, but that's something that'll have to be worked out with the town. It's gonna be public parking, but it will be one of those public parking lots where there'll be a single kiosk at the curb. You will key in, it could be one of two types. It could be the one where you punch in your time and your credit card, and it gives you a slip that you stick in your window, or it could be one where you punch in your license plate and you don't have to get a receipt, so.
Number 10, you've answered most of it, but you take a quick peek at it to make sure it's all been answered.
No, I think 10 hasn't been answered.
Well, part of it was, but.
Yeah, well, partly, but I think one of the things that we're gonna need to revise on both sites is, there is, in the redevelopment plan, there is a page called Appendix F, that describes the street scale standards, and it's a mix of concrete scored in a certain way and Belgian block decorative strip along the curb. It'll need to be modified slightly because the property line to curb dimensions on both this property and the other property are narrower than they are elsewhere in town. I mean, this is essentially 10 feet from the property line to face a curb. So getting all 3 of those bands in here isn't going to happen, but we can get the decorative band and we can get one of the concrete bands in here. So we'll revise the paving and scoring detail for both street sides, and we need to add tree grates at the street trees.
Now, again, we're on 215. The last couple of items on 215, you want to take a look at that. You talked about some of them, but not everything. That would be the number 11, 12, and 13.
Yeah.
And actually 14 and 15.
I think we touched on 11 with the EV parking stall. Ease of access to the parking stalls and ingress and egress. I think the intention here is fairly clear that you're going to, customers either going to walk into this bakery or they're going to park in the back. If they park in the back, you can walk through the access aisle and through an opening in the decorative masonry wall fence that I described before to the sidewalk, where you'd walk about 40 feet to the front door. We went back and forth. We had a scheme once before that had a back door for customers, but if you saw the inside layout of the shop, it's a fairly small space, and monitoring both a back door and a front door entrance to a space like that is difficult for staff. So I think single customer entrance at the corner works better here, and it's certainly not even an inconvenient travel distance for the handicap space. It's well within the state standard of 200 feet, which, don't tell me that's way too long. It is, but that's the standard.
Number 12.
Number 12, the stormwater here was just proposed to be an inlet in the parking lot connecting directly to the sewer. But this can be modified to be that double inlet with a section of underground pipe here and get some of the reduction that we were getting on the other site. So we will update the drainage for this to replicate the concept on 202.
And the lighting here.
And the lighting here, there's a series of wall-mounted lights on the exterior, which you can sort of see on the elevation. There's a series of wall sconces on the piers, more at the back, except that the back fixture is more of a angled flood lamp, because these lights have to get out to the parking spaces at the other end. We didn't want to put lights or a pole light or anything on the other side, because that was problematic in terms of spillage to the south of us, the first residential neighbor down Smith Street, and probably also to the yard of 217. So this just worked out better to provide still something like the half-foot candle level that we need in the parking space without going over the fence.
And security for this one, I assume because it's public parking, there isn't much you can do for security.
No, there's no intention of closing the parking lot off. It's a public parking lot, and as described before, those 8 spaces that are public parking here and metered during the day could be used by anyone really overnight here, but it would certainly help some visitor parking for the other building.
And lastly, landscaping and fencing on this site.
Landscaping and fencing on this site, again, 6-foot privacy fence here, which I assume will have the same comment, that'll be a composite fence. And in terms of landscape, there's a series of evergreen shrubs on the, excuse me. So we had the street trees on the street frontages. There's actually 2 street trees on Smith Street. There's one further down on the opposite side of the driveway. And then along the parking, there is a row of dark night. That's like a low holly, but it's a conifer. So it's
And the rear property line, we got on the rear.
That's this and this.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're, normally you would see shrubs on the edge of a parking lot as part of your buffer. The buffer really here is a solid fence. The landscape softens it, but the real barrier to headlights and sound is the 6-foot high fence.
I have no further questions this witness, Madam Chairlady.
Does anyone on the board have any questions?
I have a couple.
Yes.
This one with the address of the street here. 202, you said the back of the garage is going to be open?
Correct.
Is that like a security issue, or?
Well, we have the 6-foot fence all around that back corner. So unless someone climbs the fence, I guess that's the weak point in that. Oh, yes, no, I'm the wrong one.
Madam Chairlady, I made this mistake. I see this gentleman seated here. I think I better cover the CME report for a minute. I don't want to insult him. So, Jack, let's go back to the CME report if we could.
That's okay with everybody? Sure, why not?
First, number 1, I guess there's some sort of typo you have in a plan. Number 1 with regard to the discrepancy. Go ahead. You want to have the
Yeah,
CME?
it's in the,
Oh, really?
on the table on the first.
The table, Jack, there's a typo there, I think.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, right. The first floor has no units on it, so there shouldn't be a 1 there. Correct.
And then the next comment right under that about kitchenette details.
So, I could show you that.
Sorry, just to follow up, should I be sworn in or?
Yes.
What is it that you want to say?
Oh, sorry, I
You're
just
you're
want-
from CMA?
Yes.
Okay. Please raise your right hand, just so we get. You swear the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Your name?
Nathan Foote, last name Foote.
Thank you.
So just to confirm then with that, the discrepancy in the table, that will be corrected?
That will be corrected,
Okay.
and the 17 total still works.
Yes, well, we added that up too, we just wanted to get that corrected.
Yeah, there aren't 18 units.
Okay, thank you. I'll just get
So on the kitchenette, the amenity lounge here just has some seating areas, a restroom, and a unisex restroom, and then a short kitchenette section here with a sink, a refrigerator, and a microwave. So that's all that will be in there. It won't be a commercial kitchen.
I'm going to skip to page 6 of the CME report. Number, I guess it's little one about 2/3 of the way down the page. Clarification with regard to the additional 8 spaces.
The additional 8 spaces, you couldn't find them because they weren't shown.
Yes.
The plan, like I said before, showed the bike parking as if the bike had been left horizontal, which didn't add up to 17. But we have a detail where the bike goes up vertically on the wall, and it will go up on one side of that space, and on the other side of that space, and we'll be able to get to 17 spaces if we hang them vertically. So that
And he
needs
has
to be revised.
testified to that originally. Page 7. On the amenity terrace, about just beyond the middle of the page.
So excuse me, there are no plantings proposed for the amenity terrace at the moment. There's just some indications of like Chase Lounge and a seating arrangement here. It's a relatively small space, and the lighting. You know what, the lighting was not dealt with in the lighting plan. It would be in the construction drawings, but my assumption here is going to be that there will be just wall-mounted sconces on either side of the entrance here to light that area. And I would think building management intention here would be that space has hours, and it's not open to all hours. As it just becomes a nuisance if you leave it, if you let people go out there at 12 o'clock at night, people will go out there at 12 o'clock at night. So.
Slightly down that page, talking about the AC. That's D.
Yes. So the plans right now show what I would consider like a traditional split system furnace and outdoor air conditioning condenser, and that's what's indicated on the roof plan. We didn't talk about the roof at all, but this is going to be updated because the mechanical system in the building has been decided to be, we're going all electric here, we're going to be doing heat pumps in the units. So there'll be indoor wall-mounted heat pumps in the apartments, and it's just that the condenser has a slightly different footprint. It's skinnier, about the same length. It's more it's about 3 feet high. You've seen them with the fan at the side, like a Mitsubishi unit. And they'll be on the roof. There will be 17 condensers for the apartments, and then we talked about this before, and I should remember that number. There will be one for the amenity space, one for the fitness room, one for the lobby, and one for each of the 3 floors. So that's 4, 5, 6, and then one for the utility area, 7. So there will be 17 plus 7 small heat pump condensers on the roof. What's also on the roof are walkway pads. It's not there's no common access to the roof, so there's no activity space up here. But we have designed it with these areas of green roof trays. They're essentially 2x2 polyethylene. They look like flats you would buy they're a little bit heavier duty, but they look like flats you would buy in a nursery, pre-planted with low sedums and a mix of what we call intensive ground cover. And the intention here is just to give the building a section of the roof that's green. It helps reduce the stormwater runoff in intensity, because it takes longer for the water to get into the root drains, and it holds a good amount of water. And it provides a little bit of cooling for the roof and habitat for birds and wildlife.
The last paragraph on page 7 is looking for a confirmation that the trash and recycling room is climate controlled.
Yes, climate controlled and ventilated. So we ventilate our trash rooms and the trash chute rooms up into the roof.
Now, we've got a little issue, I think, on the next page. You discussed it will not be private scavenger, that you will be looking to use the town.
We're going to try to work with the town, and if the town hauler likes the room likes the ability to be able to pick that container up and will work with us, that would be our preference, obviously. But if he doesn't, then we'll be forced to have a private hauler. Or we'll be forced to have the individual bins put out, where they definitely will pick it up, because they all pick that. So.
I'm on page 8 yet, and the canopy being requested in the middle of the page.
Yeah, we added a metal canopy over the main entrance, and we didn't add one over the door to the left, mainly because that's primarily it's solely a fire exit. We treated it with storefront material and transoms and side lights to kind of match these windows. This one opens into the lobby. This one actually is going to have obscure glass in it because that's the sprinkler room. But at the ground floor, you want to have windows. You don't want to have a blank wall all along there. So we've tried to make this more storefront-like, but it's already recessed in 3 feet from the front facade. So I don't think it needs a canopy, and I like the idea of this being the one that you notice most, that has the number of the building on it, and just reads more as the entrance. That's all.
I'm on to page 9, and I think it's already been made clear that we're looking for a bakery, but we don't have such a customer.
Right, I mean,
Then-
this is a very common situation. You've had conversations with potential people, but no one's gonna commit or sign a lease to a space in a building that hasn't been built yet. So you could build it so that they will come, but you're not gonna, we'd be foolish to be here tonight saying, this is the person that's gonna run this cafe, because no one's gonna make that.
We go down that page about the bike racks near the bottom of the print section.
Yeah, we showed 2 bike racks along Smith. We have the room to put 2 bike racks along Belleville Avenue, and we can do that. I'm not sure how Essex County is gonna take to that, because Belleville Avenue is a county road, and it's a narrow sidewalk now. So we can show it, have them tell us yes or no, so we can make that revision.
Later on that page is confirmation that all bulk requirements have been met, and you've already indicated that in previous testimony.
That's correct.
I'm now on to page 11. You talked about the gate already. You want to say anything else about the gate?
Yeah, all I want to say about the gate to the trash room is that, yes, the side gates conflict with the 1 parking space, but it's the employee parking space, and I think it has the potential for helping us more than hurting us. When the bins get filled in here and you want to get just the recycling out and it's behind the trash, you don't have to hold them all out and hold them all back in. You could just move your car, get them out the side and get it to the thing. So we realize the conflict there, but I think it's an internal conflict among staff, and I think it'll help us.
Okay, there's a couple more questions here on page 11. So on this one, on 215, the private hauler, you've already said you're going to have one. And then the signage, you've already said it doesn't project out, I believe. So now we're on page 12. At the top of the page.
Yes, and I can only imagine that question got asked because it wasn't clear on the elevation. Sorry. Yes, we show the dimensions. We show the dimensions in text on the. Oh wait, I see what the question is. We show the size of that sign panel on the drawing for the larger sign on Belleville Avenue, but we don't have that same text on the panel that was on Smith Street side.
And that obviously can be edited.
Yes, we can edit that.
Then we just go down a page a little bit. The decorative pavers being requested?
Yeah, I think we
Pavers
talked
and
about the
sidewalk.
street, we talked about the street tree and about the streetscape details and adding the tree pits, and we will do that. My understanding in the redevelopment plan was that the eastern red bud was the preferred street tree here, but I've heard 3 different street trees so far, so I'm not sure which way.
No, I think it was in
We
the,
gotta respond.
yeah, in the redevelopment plan, there was a typo, and they added the other tree, but it should be this eastern.
So not the chokeberry, but the eastern red bud.
And we got a response to that.
Eastern redbud's the appropriate. That was wrong in the, I guess the choke cherry's for a different district. Tom will help guide you through the streetscape, the trees, he's a pro at it now.
That's fine. I mean, and they're both appropriate street trees, so, you know,
So eastern redbud, just for the record, is the right tree.
thank you.
And the last thing I have is at the bottom of page 12 with regard to the green roof elements, which we've already started to discuss here.
Glad there's no flowers left. Where did I leave off there, Bob?
We were just talking about the green roof issue with regard to 215.
Yeah, I don't think in our sustainable and building site features for this site, there was the living wall proposed on the back wall of the building, but the green roof treatment wasn't proposed for this smaller building. And I think we still meet the 6 items that we have to pick from that list, so I would say we're in compliance there, but take another look at it.
I have no further questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the green wall, what percentage of the wall is going to be a green wall?
Well, the intention here is that you get that whole area that you see as a rectangle below the window gets the grid, and then they space out sort of clip-on hangers to the wall, and then now those vines go up, out, and down and fill in the space. So they size the number of clip-on containers here to fill the whole space, with the idea that at the end, what you need to do, if anything, is trim the edges. So 100%, should be 100%.
Okay, I mean, that's something I think if it's maintained properly, it would be beautiful and good for everyone. And
it's going to take maintenance.
if it's not, you know, if you have a bunch of dead weeds on a wall, it's going to look terrible.
Yeah, and then you have to, and you do, as was just brought up, you do need to provide some irrigation from the inside. It's a very minor drip system, but you do need to water.
One more question, too, is the parking you said is going to be open to the public, right?
Yeah, those 8 spaces are public parking,
I think
legally public parking.
Just my opinion, but I think it would be a mistake to have it open to the public for overnight. I think you open yourself up to a situation where people are just going to abandon their cars there, and then the store doesn't have adequate parking.
It's a fair point. I don't know if
Brian, what do you
we've
think?
had
Overnight parking for the public? I mean,
I think that's a decision, I guess, that they make with the town when they negotiate that. Technically, if it would maybe benefit the residents if the residents use it properly, but if you said if they abandon cars there, then that becomes a problem and they'd have to be towed.
If the town only cares about it being public during the hours when it can be metered, we could potentially sign it that it's permit parking after that, and the permits would be issued to tenants in the building. In either the commercial space, but I don't know why they would want overnight parking, but maybe to residents in the apartment building.
I think it's very similar how you manage also other public parking spaces in the town that you don't let overnight parking, so I think it is up for
It could
discussion.
be, right, it could be either,
It could be
really,
either,
yeah.
yes.
But yeah, you're right.
It's a fair point because we don't want it.
It's a town decision, but I think Ray's point is well taken. And if we sign it, as was indicated by our architect, that it's only available to 6 or 7 or whatever it may be, but not too late, and then make it available to the residents across the street after that with a permit issue, I think that would be a better way to go. But again, it depends depends on the redevelopment agreement with the town, exactly how they agree to it. Hopefully Brian hears what we're recommending.
My only concern with that is, since it's kind of public parking and it's metered, well, what if a resident has company over and they want to park there?
They would take the risk of leaving their car after whenever it is, 8 o'clock, or whenever the meters kick in.
Right.
They'd either have to go out and feed that meter continuously, or they get a ticket.
I just,
Taking a
well,
tow.
like in my neighborhood, we have the Stop and Shop, I mean, there's trucks in there, there's cars in there,
Just talking
all
about
the
that.
time.
Just talking
No
about
matter what, along Franklin Street too, I go to work 5 o'clock in the morning, it's nothing but solid trucks. Everyone, you know, the more we become urbanized, the more we have less parking, and people take advantage of parking. I just don't want to see that here.
I think we need
Especially
better,
the bigger commercial lots.
I think we
for
need
sure.
better implementation of our parking laws that we
They're not
already have.
enforced. I mean, there's a truck that parks in my house every night.
They
And
can't,
there's a sign that says, no overnight truck parking.
they
He's
can't.
there every night and he never has a ticket.
So we don't
That's
have,
our biggest issue.
that's our biggest issue.
So I just don't want to see people parking in here overnight and then like, the police aren't going to enforce it and.
But see, that's the sad part. We always go into saying we can't do something because one of our agencies isn't going to follow up on what they're supposed to do.
It's reality.
We have to get away from that, but we can't make decisions here thinking that way too, because then we do nothing, right? So I think we need to put more pressure on those agencies to do what they have to do. Franklin Street should not be trucks parked on
All
Franklin.
night, overnight.
I think it, yeah.
I'm from Belleville, I now live in another town. The same thing prevails. On the street I ride at 6 o'clock in the morning, there's a big truck there already at 6 a.m. in the morning. So it's difficult in every town for law enforcement people to enforce that issue.
But our problem is we get calls and they don't ticket still. You have commercial vehicles on streets that really should not be there overnight. Not more, 6 o'clock they be doing maybe a delivery, but overnight,
I go out for coffee at 6 o'clock in the morning. That vehicle is there at least 50% of the time at 6 a.m. in the morning.
wow.
So that's the town I now live in. Very difficult. Ray's point is well taken, very difficult. Anyway, that's a decision to come in the future. I don't think this board makes that decision, but
Can I, I'm sorry. You
Go ahead. Just two things. As far as the trash, is a private hauler going to be contracted, or is it going to be JCI?
The private hauler is required for the commercial building, but it's not required for the residential.
So the residential will be JCI?
I think what I testified to is we would like to work it out with JCI and have them be comfortable with picking the trash up from the building, but we understand that they could turn around and say, I can't pick up that 2-yard dumpster in front of your building, you're gonna have to get a private hauler. So we're prepared for either way.
Gotcha.
So, but we did talk to JCI,
And
JSI.
JSI,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And one other thing, it's been commonly seen when you introduce a fitness room to any of these apartments, they don't get used really, you know. So on that lines, we've been thinking more of like a game type of room, like a ping pong table or something like that would be more feasible to actually get used or something.
No, it's a good point. I think the numbers that we've seen nationwide is like the fitness rooms get used 30% by 30% of the residents and at different times, so it's really underutilized. Still, when people are looking for a place, they see the fitness room, they like it, even though they're not gonna use it. So.
That's it right there.
Sign up for a gym.
Yep.
Yeah, I got that membership.
Just a thought, just a
No,
thought.
I hear you.
Just a thought.
I think the amenity room, and actually, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, we made it even bigger than we had to because we wanted to, make sure that it could be used, cold weather, or, when it's warmer outside. So we increased the area in those 2 rooms. That may end up being the game room, but yes, the fitness room is kind of a catch.
Thank you.
Can you just tell me what the breakdown of the bedrooms are? How many 1-bedrooms, 2-bedrooms?
13 1-bedrooms and 4 2-bedrooms.
I just got one more question.
And And then, is there anything within either of the two reports that you can't comply with?
We're seeking not to comply with the private hauler for the residential structure. That's about the only thing I recall.
Yeah, I think that, I have to agree, I think that's the only item that I think we're, you know,
And
not
so,
gonna be able to.
to that end though, you are
Willing
looking
to
to
if
use,
necessary.
right, you're willing, if necessary, you will use a private hauler, but if not, you'll use the public hauler.
That's right, we have, we're gonna be generating trash, and we have to be able to handle it. So, and if the town has an issue with it, there's a plan B, so.
We'll get the private hauler if we have to. But I think, as was testified to already, my architect/engineer spoke with the company, trash company, CSI, whatever it is, I'm sorry if I don't remember the initials. But if they say they won't do it, then we gotta get a private hauler. If they say they will do it, they pick along the way everybody else and they take us to.
They said if you have a compactor room, when it's actually built, we want to come see it, and we want to see what we have to haul from where, and how we get it on our truck, and then we'll give you the yay or nay. That was Mitchell from Meekassa.
Yeah, I think the only one that I want to add, just to kind of complete answer your question, is the green roof on 215, because we're complying with the
Right.
other items. We are not addressing the green roof for the commercial space.
I missed that, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
One more quick question with the sanitation. Regardless who picks it up, how are they gonna pick it up? We have to roll the container out into Belleville Avenue?
The garbage truck would pull up to the curb
Right.
on Belleville Avenue, right at the driveway. That rolling container, which is like 30 inches by 5 feet, and about that tall, gets rolled right to the back of the truck. They tip it into the truck, and you roll it back in. So,
Just, I mean,
It
it's
can be
just my
handled.
suggestion. I think you're better off with a private carrier and where you could specify what hours you want them to come. Because I know the garbage carrier we have, sometimes he comes to my house at 5 in the morning, sometimes he comes 5 at night, sometimes it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And Belleville Avenue is such a heavily traveled street, if you're trying to pick up the trash at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when school's getting out, I mean, it's really gonna create a little problem.
that's why he wants to see it, because he
Alright.
knows that that container has to be brought out when he's putting it in the truck. It can't be like rolled out earlier and left at the curb. It's the size of like a big laundry thing, we've seen, so.
And I think that he also wants to see it, there's already in that stretch 5 or 6 buildings similar size, so I think
Yeah,
that's why he.
just coming down here tonight, there were apartment buildings with black plastic bags.
Yeah, that's
stacked all
what
up
I
and
don't
down the
wanna
curb,
see.
Waiting for the garbage.
I don't wanna see a bunch of garbage cans or black bags out there.
Yeah, no,
Even if it's permitted, that's not.
it's gotta be in containers, it's gotta be in containers one way or the other.
All right.
And I think the compacted container is the smallest volume, so it's the easiest thing, but it's an operation.
Anybody else? No, I'll open it up to the public. Mr. Shellman?
Good evening, everyone. Michael Sheldon, 47 Lloyd Street. I'll start my questions with 215 Belleville Avenue, which is the current wet club. It's been said throughout the night that the hopeful next generation of building is going to be a bakery. I'm just curious, in this area, this isn't in anywhere, but it's a redevelopment zone, either Mr. Banda or Mr. Harris can answer. Is cannabis permitted in this zone? Good, all right, thank you. So my question was, if the bakery goes in, are we going to have normal brownies or?
They look excited about this.
I don't partake in any of that, but I just want, just for the community's sake.
Like, how long have you been thinking about that?
Actually, you beat me to one question, but I'll get to that, with 202, but I'll get to that in a little while. The new building at 215, will that, it's right now advertised as 1 story, but is it going to be built so that the foundation and the first floor walls might down the road allow the possibility of adding additional floors?
It's not going to be designed that way, because I really don't see that as being a possibility. With the with the agreement with the town for what's happening with the parking behind, there's really no excess parking there that could be used for another use, like apartments above or something. We looked at multiple types of buildings for that site, we ended up with this one, but no, I think there's
All right.
no option for that.
I personally would hope it would stay one story for perpetuity. Before I move on to 202, I just wanted to recommend that when you start the demolition of this building, this notorious wet gentleman club, you might want to give the Essex County Prosecutor's Office and their forensic people a heads up, because there's no telling what you're going to find. If I remember, when you guys were having the hearing for the ANOR consideration, there were apparently oil tanks or barrels in the, I'm not sure if it was this property or another one, but you know, there's, God knows what you're going to find when those walls come down, and the ceilings come down. But well, hopefully it's just some bracts and things like that, nothing
A
more.
lot of low-end liquor.
Correct.
That's what I saw.
Moving on to the bigger project, 202. Mr. Marinello asked a question I was going to lead off with, which was the total number of units and the total number of bedrooms. It's been, you said that there are 13 one-bedroom units.
Correct.
And 4 two-bedroom units. So that makes the total number of bedrooms overall 21.
Correct.
21, right? And you only need, you have 17 parking spots?
Yeah, the requirement is one space per unit, period,
Right.
in the redevelopment.
All right, all right. I know it gets complicated. Mr. Harrods, in meetings like this, always has to correct me because of the calculus that has to be used to figure out how many parking spots are actually needed. The rooftop, you're making a green rooftop, and there's a small terrace on the 4th floor, which is in the back of the building, so it won't be overlooking Belleville Avenue.
Right.
It's in the back, all right. And as far as the rooftop is concerned, are you putting any solar panels there, or is it just solar?
No, it was one or the other, and we went with the green roof,
Right.
actually, yeah.
Personally, I approve of that. I think your building this size, probably solar wouldn't really mean much, so it's probably better overall for you to have greenery there.
Probably
than
pay us
solar.
back more, but it's a little bit.
Surprisingly, no one on the board brought this up, which is usually a concern with projects like this, considering the location on Belleville Avenue. If I understand your discussion correctly, all of the ingress and egress out of the parking lot, the ground floor parking lot, is onto Belleville Avenue.
Correct.
And as you probably know, during rush hour, especially in the morning, Belleville Avenue is pretty much backed up from Washington Avenue to the Pennsylvania border. Well, at least to Bloomfield. So when residents of your building are coming out of that parking lot, if they have any plans of making a left turn onto Belleville Avenue, they may be waiting for an hour or two for someone to let them across the street. So I know you guys might want to consider, you know, in the morning, because of the horrible traffic flow situation there, to restrict, at least in the morning, I guess it would be right turn only, not to ask the residents to refrain from trying to make a left turn, because they're going to then tie up both directions. They're going to get stopped in the middle of the street, and no one's going to be able to move in any direction. So something you guys...
I have an opinion about that in terms of garages and driveways, that you could sign it any way you want, but I can guarantee you that half the people that want to turn left are going to turn left whether there's a sign there or not. I live in Rutherford, my CVS has a no left turn sign, everyone turns left, and no one ever stops them. It pisses me off, but it's like, you know, it's very hard, we talked about before about enforcement, it's a hard thing to enforce, you know. And I think that the inconvenience mostly is on that person trying to cross 2 lanes of traffic. Well, cross 1 lane of traffic to get in the other, but we could certainly put a sign up.
Just something to consider, just to mitigate any additional traffic problems there. Mr. Francantoni's not here tonight, but obviously if he was, he would be hearing forever about the not allowing left turns onto Belleville Avenue during the morning. I think that covers everything here. Thank you. You know, I just want to pay you a compliment. I've been going to these meetings for years and years, and you're one of the best presenters to date. So I appreciate your very clear presentation and answering all my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to make a few clarification,
Okay.
if I can. All right, so I know that you've agreed to most of the comments and recommendations made in the CME report, but I just want to clarify a few points, do it really quickly. First point about the bike parking, so you'll show that the additional 8 spaces will be provided with the wall, and you provide that detail?
Correct.
Okay, yes. And then next thing about the lighting on the terrace. I understand that, you won't be showing the details of it, but if, can a note be provided just stating that some kind of soft lighting will be provided?
We could certainly, I could certainly update the lighting plan to show the fixtures on that roof.
Okay.
So that's
not
easy
even the
enough,
lighting
that's easy
plan.
enough to do, the
Okay.
lighting level.
If you want to go that far, great. If not, we just need that note stating that it'll be provided. Let's see here. Another point, the question has been asked about items that you weren't going to be able to comply with. The metal canopy is another one, just wanted to point that out for the record. Metal canopy over the second egress point, the secondary egress point, that I'll just note is also unable to take care of, to do that, which I understand the rationale for it, that's fine. So that was just for 202, so for 215, so you'll show the 2 bike racks on Belleville Ave, but that will be obviously conditioned upon the county's approval.
Right, we're gonna show it along with the streetscape, design, and if we can do it, fine, if we can't do it, we'll let you know.
Okay, understood. Let's see here, and then, so with a bakery or any kind of restaurant use, a ventilation shaft is required as, literally, you're an architect engineer. But just for the record, so can a ventilation shaft, not the actual details necessarily, but just point out where the ventilation shaft will be.
We can actually drop that on the roof plan.
Okay.
We didn't show it because we weren't sure exactly, but I know in general where it's gonna go. I said the kitchen's not a very big space, so it's gonna be on the roof behind the parapet, so we don't wanna go out the side wall at all.
Gotcha. Okay, good. And then, so streetscape and pedestrian will work with the engineer on, and show the details on plans?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes. Alfredo Flores again, 5 DeWitt Avenue. Questions, to echo something that he said about right turn only. I live in the corner of what Avenue DeWitt. I can show you recordings of 7 accidents. I think we'll be doing that turns at rush hour. Why? Because they can't see who's coming on the other side, and the people on the other side think they're driving a NASCAR or a race car. And so they hit, they flip around, they end up in the other people's property. Well, so what's gonna happen in this case, it's gonna end up in front of somebody's house. Because when they hit them like this, somebody's gonna get T-boned. It will happen, I guarantee it. I guarantee it so much, I will put a camera out and record every time it happens and send it to you. It will happen at least 5 times a year. That's what happens there. Number 2 is, that building, at 202, the east side of that building is gonna go right up against the fence of 5 DeWitt. So we put a 6-foot fence around this yard for privacy, and I'm gonna have 3 floors looking down on me from this building. Okay? And so, what's the deal here? Obviously, this is a problem, because she spent all that money putting up this fence, and I got people, the privacy's gone, completely gone, right? All these people, and then the back of the property has a little space in there. That part is actually not behind me, it's behind the house next door, okay? They don't use their yard, we use our yard, we use it a lot. All Sundays, every summer, every Sunday, I spend the day outside, okay? Now, I have to spend the day outside being looked at, okay? So that's my problem. Barring them not putting any windows on the east side of the building, which I know they're gonna do, or putting up a 4-story tall fence, which I know they're not gonna do, then exactly what is this inquiry about for? We came here to, you know, to voice our opinion. However, Mr. Attorney here made sure to put out every point to show that there are no variances, that everything's okay, everything's good, but this is not going in his backyard. This is not going in her backyard, it's not going in his backyard, it's not going in your backyard, it's going in my backyard.
Can I just stop you for 1 second?
Sure.
I appreciate everything that you're trying to tell us, but this is actually the time for questions and what you're doing. I know you're not a regular here, so I know you don't know the way we normally do things.
Okay,
but
it's my
you're
first
gonna
time
have-
over here.
I know, and I appreciate that. At the end of the hearing, you would have an opportunity to testify to all these things that you're doing. I'll swear you in like everybody else, and you'll have an opportunity. Do you have any particular architectural or engineering questions of this gentleman?
Can you
Because we
not
all
put
know you have-
windows on the east side?
No.
Can you put a fence that's 4 stories tall?
Okay.
I would say that the windows on the side, this is a unique situation where the buildings on DeWitt have rear yards that face the side yard of a property on Belleville Avenue. So even if this was a smaller lot that was designed as a house that was 3 stories high, you would have windows 3.5 feet off the property line, like I have in this building. We would be 1 story lower, but there would be no variance required for a house to have windows that close to their side yard. It's just that we have a side yard facing a rear yard, instead of 2 rear yards facing each other and houses like 60 feet away from each other in a back-to-back situation. So that's where it comes from.
Any other questions? Mr. Haynes?
We hit the 307 Fairway Avenue. The 202, not the 202, the 215 Belleville Avenue looks like a good project, except the Belleville Avenue, you're gonna have the trees alongside over there?
The redevelopment plan required us to show street trees on Belleville Avenue. I know what you're going to say. There are no street trees on Belleville Avenue for blocks here. And I think that's because of the county.
So narrow, the traffic and the kids, the worst thing to do is to put anything on the narrow sidewalk that you have there, on both sides of the street, okay?
No argument.
That's one. Has there been any traffic study done on this here? I didn't hear anything about any traffic study.
No, there was no need for traffic study, and one was not done yet.
There's no need for one?
Yeah, we took a 17-space parking, well, no, we took what was probably a 30-space parking lot for a nightclub and turned it into a residential property that's going to have probably 8 trips out, in and out per hour in rush hour for 17 units, compared to everybody coming in and out at one time, or much more frequently for the nightclub. And the small parking lot on Smith Street is so small that the actual traffic flow on Smith Street from this is...
I'm not concerned about the traffic because the Smith Street's coming up on Smith Street.
Yeah, you're concerned
about
yeah.
Belleville Avenue because you're gonna have people getting up to go to work in the morning. That's when you're gonna have all the traffic there. You've got them coming home at that point, that's when all the traffic. You have garbage trucks that's gonna come over there. You're gonna have a hell of a problem with traffic. There's so many accidents at that intersection. That's probably one of the worst intersections in Belleville. You have all that traffic coming from New York and going back and forth all the way up to Fulton Avenue.
That's probably primarily because of what Union does.
Madam Chair, lady.
Union and
This
Belleville
gentleman's a
Avenue is a
regular
weird
participant, understands the rules. Council let the previous person talk for a while, I understand that, but it's time for questions.
Try to keep it to a question. You'll have your chance to talk.
All right, doing traffic studies.
Right.
Is there any plan to have one?
They don't have one before us tonight, no.
So you're not gonna have one at all?
Any other comments, sir? Questions, please, for the witness?
Rafael Fernandez, 217 Belleville Avenue. The project, when is the timeframe of the project being completed from start to end?
I would say if we received planning board approval, we would probably be looking at starting construction at the end of the summer, because construction drawings need to be done, and permits need to be obtained, so I would guesstimate that we would be starting August, September construction, and this is probably a 16 to 18 month, maximum construction time.
And as far as, so Belleville Avenue and Smith, like that whole area is extremely congested now. Like you really can't navigate sometimes that area. So during the demolition process, like, and obviously you're gonna have heavy machinery and things like that. How is that gonna work with Belleville Avenue and Smith? Like,
The thought, it's a good question. The thought was that we'd have one contractor doing both buildings, and they would do the demolition and clearing on the Smith Street site first. And they would use that parcel for whatever staging and material deliveries so that they can work on 202. And once the first floor goes up and the garage space is created and they're working in the floors above, the big open garage on the ground floor gives them more flexibility in terms of construction. And then they can maybe start, and the construction period for 215 is obviously shorter than for 202. So that actually works kind of in their favor. They could get prepared to do 215, concentrate on 202, and at some point shift their, construction, office, logistics stuff into the first floor of 202 so that they can get 215 vertical out of the ground.
Okay. And the last question that I have is, let's say there's issues with the construction, obviously with, again, my property being right attached to 215, and there's any type of problems that happen or damage or whatever the case may be, is that something that I go through the town, or do I contact directly the management of whoever's doing the project? How does that work?
Well, probably the most logical way to deal with it is with the construction official.
Okay.
Because they have authority, they're the authority having jurisdiction here. That's not to say that having a good relationship with the contractor and the owner of the property and avoiding conflict isn't better, but, you have property that needs to be protected.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't want to call the town, for every little thing. So I would agree that there has to be some form of relationship.
So what we've done in the past is like even before any work is started, obviously those relationships need to be established, not only directly with the people that live there, but also with the person that is the contractor, the people that are going to be there every single day. So that is of utmost importance, because there's going to be days that we would have to coordinate, well, this is happening, just to let you. So there's a lot of communication that needs to happen, especially on the side.
All right, I just want to make sure that there is some form of plan in place to be able to get that done.
Absolutely.
Cool, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I would just suggest maybe Mr. Gassion, you can get his number.
Well, my client will take care of it.
Yeah. If you can give her your number, that way she can give it to the contractor to contact you and keep you posted.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you.
One more question?
Yes.
Question?
What kind of ventilation is coming out of the store on 215?
215 will have a rooftop air conditioning unit on the roof behind the parapet, but there will also be a fresh air intake and an exhaust for the hood in the kitchen. The assumption here is there's going to be one hood in the kitchen over the ovens and or ranges or whatever they have.
By the windows of the house.
No, that has to be, both of those, well, the fresh air intake could come from anywhere, but the exhaust has to be a minimum of 10 feet from his property line. And 10 feet from any of the windows on our building too, so.
All right, Zach.
Yes, again, Alfredo Torres, I do it, just like him here, gentleman here. This construction is gonna be, 2/3 of it is gonna be against our backyard.
Well, we're not, all the
So
questions
can
right
we
now.
also get a number or something, a contact, something flows off that building, comes into our yard,
Yes.
we wanna know who to call, and they damage something, they have to take care of it.
Mr. Gassion, will your client stay after the meeting and
Well,
supply this if
We,
this passes?
they provide us with their information,
Yes.
we will provide that information to our contractor.
Good. Okay. Any other? All right, seeing none, then I'm going to close this portion. Mr. Gassion, do you have any other witnesses?
I do not, Madam Chair Lady.
Want a summary?
I would like a very brief summary.
You want to summarize before or after the public speaks?
After the public, that's what they had done. and
Well,
completed.
I mean, you know how we do things around here. We got half testimony, half questions.
Go ahead.
But I want to make sure everybody's had a chance to give their opportunity to speak about the application, just so that it's clear they've had a chance, so.
So is there anyone that would like to summarize? Mr. Torres?
Yeah, to bring up what I said,
Mr. Torres,
initially, when
let
I
me
was.
swear you in real fast, okay? Please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Absolutely.
Okay, name and address one more time for the record.
Alfredo Torres, 5 DeWitt Avenue. So repeating what I had said in the beginning, I have a lot of concerns with this. No privacy. Now there's no traffic. I live around the corner. At 9 o'clock at night, the light at Belleville Avenue turns red, and the cars are past DeWitt. That's 9 o'clock at night. During the day, I come home, I'm bumper to bumper from Belleville Avenue, from Washington Avenue up. That's why I'm used to that. But now we're gonna add 17 more cars. And that parking lot behind the restaurant, the bakery, there's people on my block that are jogging for parking space all the time, right? As a matter of fact, there's one that parks right there on the corner where they're not supposed to. The police says, call us when they're there. We call, and they never show up, okay? And so what happens sometimes, when I leave the house in the morning, I make a right turn out of the driveway, and here comes somebody, because they can't see me, because that car's there, somebody coming off of Belleville Avenue, is coming hot around the corner and almost been hit a few times, okay? So, again, but that's another thing. My concern is this big giant 4-story building. There are no other 4-story buildings in our little neighborhood, okay? And this will be just the beginning of more, okay? I just know it, okay? Because it's happening on Washington Avenue, it's happening in other parts, it's happening on Rutgers Street, right? So they're just gonna continue to happen. Unfortunately, zoning lets them do it, okay? And this is a time where I feel when money talks, no one listens, okay? So those are my points, and you're gonna do whatever you want. They're gonna do what they want, they're gonna make their building. And when I'm looking at the people throwing stuff out the window, and it's my yard, who do I tell? Do I call him? Do I call her? Do I call him? Who do I call? Nobody's gonna enforce it, right? So that's the thing. Privacy's gone, now I gotta deal with potential of other stuff. We already have a problem with garbage. We pick garbage up every other day, fill up bags. Now there's 17 more potential garbage depositors, okay? It's just gonna happen. So I would like one day to, I would extend an invitation to them to come over one day in the summertime. I'll grill, I'll watch everybody looking at us, see how they like it. Because they don't have it in their yard. I guarantee this is not happening in their yard. Okay, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Did you want to say something?
I just want to say,
Come on.
Come on up, you gotta get sworn in.
take my life away.
Just, right now, it's just your name and address.
Dora Valley.
Please raise your right hand. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. I have a question. What was the reason for us like to come to this meeting if you guys already, you're gonna build anyway, so even no matter what we said, like he was saying about the property, about the privacy, like I'm on the second floor and mom is on the first floor, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be looking at the window and instead of looking at Union Avenue or the kids playing or whatever, I'm gonna see this building. Is there, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I know, like you said, you guys don't live there, we do. Like I wanna have a barbecue, I wanna have a swimming pool, you can't, I just feel like we're closed in. And then the schools are so crowded that it's insane. So you're gonna put 17 more apartment buildings, whatever you're doing. Where are those kids gonna go to school? Just because you have a one-bedroom apartment doesn't mean if a couple moves in, they're not gonna have kids. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like ridiculous. Like my granddaughter goes to that school and she says, Nina, it's crazy in the school. We can't even walk around. They don't have time to eat lunch because there's so many kids. When she comes home, I'm hungry. I said, well, you don't have lunch? No, Dad didn't have enough time. So what do I say to her? And now, like you said, we came here to express what we feel, but you guys' mind is already made. They're gonna build the same way they did 7-Eleven. We came here, we expressed our feeling, what they do? They build, the traffic is crazy there. My granddaughter wants to ride her bike, no, you can't ride the bike, because people are just zooming out of the, no left turn. What do? They make the left turn. So what do we, I feel like I just waste 2 hours of my time here for nothing. Because, it's gonna go up. And we have nothing to say. My taxes are going up, I just went to pay the tax yesterday. Do I get a tax break because all those buildings are being built? No. So, it is what it is. My mother's 90 years old, right now she should be in bed. I gotta go home and put her in bed. Because I can't get assistance. But the buildings are getting up. She can't get, assistance for nothing. Because she makes $300 more than what Social Security is allowed. She's 90, she has no one except me. And it's not fair. But now, like I said, I'm here, but I should be home with her. But I didn't accomplish anything because that building is gonna go up. The two buildings are gonna go up. And so, there's nothing anyone can do.
Well,
I'm sorry.
we try to make conditions on some property to help accommodate those that are around. And it's hard to, like you're saying, 4 stories.
That's what I'm saying, but you make the apartment buildings and a bakery and, a physical thing, whatever, this, that, but you're attracting people from Newark. It's not just the Belleville people, it's the same way they built the park up there. They have to lock it up after a certain hour because they get everybody else from everywhere. Like 7-Eleven, the same thing. There was cops there, they were robbing, they were doing this, they were, and now this apartment, no matter how good the security it is, you're gonna have a problem. And we're the one that live there. Like I said, I don't know where you guys live, but I know I live. And right now I can't move out of there, I can't do nothing. But it's gonna be a problem, like I said, it's crazy. It's not fair to the people that are there, that can't pick up and move. I wish I could just pick up and move, but I can't. But,
We try to, I think most of us here on the board try to be sympathetic and we try to make conditions to the owners so it alleviates some kind of congestion.
I know, but I just feel like it's bringing more people into Belleville. Like I said, the schools and this and that. We are overpopulated already with the traffic. It's great. I never make, like they say, I never make a left turn. I can't make a left turn. Because nobody lets you go. I make a right turn. I go around to go where I'm supposed to be. And that's it. All right. Have a good night.
Mr. Haynes?
Harry Hinton, 307 Fairway Avenue.
Did I already swear him in? Did I swear you in? That was the last time. That's the last time.
I think that was the last.
That was the last application. Please raise your right hand. Do You swear the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
The 215 seems like a nice project right there. It's a small thing. I don't understand why the town's got anything to do with the parking lot there for parking. Can you explain that to me?
What do you mean the town has anything to do with it?
You putting a meter in there for
Oh, yes,
parking?
behind the store,
Yes, a 215.
right.
Bad?
What does the town have to do with that? I don't understand.
Is it a bad idea? Is it a bad idea? Is that what you're saying, or
Bad idea? Well, who's gonna maintain that property? Snow plowing and everything like that?
there's gonna be an agreement between the town and the owner? That'll all be settled.
I just don't know, it seems odd. Not that there's anything
Well,
wrong with it.
no, the district needed parking. The stores that are there doesn't have any. You can't park on Belleville Avenue at all. It is a problem. We acknowledge that that avenue is a problem. One of the things that district does allow is increased densities just so that we can get extra parking for like the community, right? The municipal parking. So they're not going, even though this is a redevelopment area, they're really not going outside what their zoning allows them to do anyway. The gentleman's issue right here is his backyard is a side lot. Normally that doesn't happen, usually there's a 15-foot gap or 20-foot gap between properties. It's just a unique situation that he's dealing with. Also, the zoning was set last meeting, there was 3 hearings on this is the 3rd one. The zoning for this was set last hearing. So now we're just kind of going over minute details. So the time to bring up thoughts about the zoning and the setbacks and everything, that would have been the last time we did a hearing. So there's, yeah, I don't know what happened, but that's kind of where we're at right now too. So the parking on that lot is an attempt at the township to work with local property owners, real estate developers, to kind of improve
There's no
parking
liability out of
situations.
town for that.
The liability will, again, be dealt with the attorneys, and there will be something, I'm sure, because is there a shared profit on that?
No.
Town gets everything?
Town gets everything.
There you go. Becomes almost basically an easement, the town runs and owns the lot.
Okay, that seems like a nice project there.
Yeah.
Okay. This 202 Belleville Avenue is way too much development there. Way too much, gonna bring more kids into the school, you know, the problems we're having in school. Tom Cole was talking about the issues with these apartments and that you classify 1 bedroom and everything, and they wind up piling more people into them than anything. It's gonna bring too many people into them, the congestion in that area, it's bad enough now. I can't imagine what's gonna happen once you try and put a building up like that, and people coming in and out of there, the garbage men. I think it's way too big of a project for that specific location. It's just getting crazy over there. You're making a dangerous situation more dangerous. So I wish you'd scale this thing down, if anything, just that 215, because it's a mess. I mean, not the 215, the 202.
There's 2 sides to the negotiation, right? So if we scaled it down, we'd also probably lose the parking lot. So it's all, that's kind of.
It's too much overdevelopment for that particular area. All right, it's causing a lot of problems in the town with the schools. Tom Cole mentioned it the other day, and he's trying to hit everybody up with $400 tax increase, every average size house. It's just getting ridiculous what these are doing. Now you're building right up to the property lines.
Well, those are commercial districts. Commercial districts allow that. Because buildings, basically most of the buildings there already that are like that, they're all to the property line on each the front and the sides. That's what a commercial district kind of is. So it's neighborhood retail. It's meant to be smaller. It's not the 6 stories, 8 stories on Washington Avenue. Again, the bonus here was given because they gave back. Right? It was 1 story they got. So really, that story would have ended up on the other building, and we would have had no parking. So this is kind of a trade-off in how we deal with zoning. Again, we could put another commercial store there. That generates car trips. Anytime you do something, you're creating some level of traffic. Yeah. But a store would create more trips, probably.
That 202's got a lot of issues, and Everybody on the board knows how bad that traffic is now. Everybody in that board knows how overcrowded our schools are, and they're blaming our lousy school grade because of overcrowding, and they blamed it on this, they blame it on that. It's just getting to be too much in this town for...
We heard the last application, right? How they're crowding people into a single-family house.
Yes.
And the kids are coming out of there. We had another one on Oak Street, Oak Terrace, by you, I think that was. Another small two-family house, 31 people living in it, 14 kids.
Right.
It's different because those are, the 1 to 4 family houses are our biggest problems. Buildings like this, the ones we've already done, Tomco has the numbers. He has state numbers. None of them back anything he's saying, and he knows that. It's the smaller properties, which is what, yeah, he should make a comment about, what we all should go after. Those are the ones that are actually causing the infractions. This building, how big are the 1-bedrooms?
This building is gonna cause a lot of problems, and you know it. And you know it.
13 1-bedrooms.
13 with the square footage of the unit.
Yes.
I didn't remember it off the top of my head.
600-700 square feet? 600-700 square feet. The units we're having problems with are over 1,000. They're 1,500 square feet. They have 3-4 bedrooms in them, extra bathrooms. It's, the 1-family house, what was that, 2,800 square feet? Those are the ones we're having the real problems with. They're not managed properly. The mom and pop shops, they let anybody do, they create boarding houses. In a 600 square foot unit, you really only have 2 rooms and a bath. You know what I mean? So it's a lot harder to do it.
Give it time, give them time. You see what's happening with all these immigrants coming in now, they're piling them into any spaces that they can.
In the
So
smaller
there's
houses.
people all over the place, it's only gonna get worse, only gonna get worse. But you know something, as far as the kids that this here is gonna bring, it's a problem, yes, but I think that's more of a problem with the traffic and with everything else there. It's the worst intersection in Belleville. It's an way too big of a project for that location.
Belleville is tough. It's not just it's a county road. That takes people out of Jersey City and Manhattan into the region. But it's not local traffic causing it. It's traffic coming from Morris County, from where Mr. Gassion lives, back into the city.
That's the main artery right there.
Yeah,
Main
it's the main
artery.
artery.
This is too big of a project to be on Belleville. If it had a back entrance and an exit, it would make a big difference. But everything's coming out, in and out from there with the garbage trucks, with everything. And you heard it from everybody. The traffic from the bridge, up Rutgers, up Belleville Avenue, all the way up to Bloomfield, the borderline. There's lines every day, in the morning and at night coming back. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And to put a project like this in the worst intersection of it all, it's just unbelievable that you would even consider something this big.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You get one more shot.
Yes, let me, there's one more. What I want to know is if this is the 3rd hearing, why were we omitted in mailings to come here for the first 2, or was this planned? What I'm getting at is, were we omitted on purpose? Because you know full well I would be just as upset the first one as I am now, okay? And, you know, he brought up the point, taxes are going up, yet they're applying for no tax. Like she's never had any children in a Belleville school district, but she's paying for the school. So how about the people who own the building pay for the school instead? Okay? So if there's anything that can be done for us is then, all right, let's cap the taxes. She's never had any children in this school system. She's never had any small children in this country. Okay? Yet, we're bringing in people that, let's just say, the four two-bedroom apartments don't have children. Okay? That's 4 more kids in school that we pay for. We don't have any kids here. I don't have any children at all. But we're paying for the tax for the school. So how about we think about that let's make it fair. Oh, you're going to put it there, put all these families in there? Let them pay for the school.
So I'm gonna kinda answer that. So we already did put up new units, very comparable to this. We have about 322 that went up. Of those 322, we got 4 kids. Out of those 322, they pay now over $1 million towards our tax base. She's not paying taxes. A pilot program is a payment in lieu of taxes. It restructures the taxes, how it works. It doesn't mean they don't pay. They actually end up paying just as much to us. This will most likely not yield. If it yields a kid, it might yield 1, 2, maybe, somewhere around. Am I wrong?
With 4 2-bedrooms? Because it's really the 2 bedrooms that are gonna generate
They do.
kids. You get people moving out at once by the time kids are going to grammar school.
Yeah,
More
they're just
often
not
than
doing
not.
it. We built completely 1-bedroom buildings and there's nothing in them. The only one where we got a few kids is the Silver Lake project. That's 232 units in it.
So now that also now adds another
And they do,
question,
but they
right?
do pay into our tax base. So to say that these buildings don't, these buildings pay more per acre than anything in town. These buildings pay our taxes. So
Okay.
that's a misconception that they don't,
So
they
now-
do.
And this is
We
not
live
up
off
to
that.
compare what we used to get before when it was empty land.
The empty lot pays nothing, a couple $1,000. I'm just clearing it up. I'm not
But
challenging.
to tell you the truth though, right now, I'd rather have the empty lot than a 4-story behemoth
I know.
looking into
And
my yard.
listen, right behind
Now,
my
the other
house.
thing is,
I
like
got
you
you.
said, people have kids, they leave, so what, we're looking at a turnover here a lot? It's a revolving door, that's also a problem.
Right, just
People
saying.
changing all
What
the
you
time.
get in these kind of units is the kids growing up in Belleville or in North Arlington who can't afford to buy a house in
Yeah.
Belleville and North Arlington, so they're renting while they're young. That seems to be the demographic
But-
here in all these kind of projects.
But I've seen what some of these rents are, they're as high as the damn
They're high,
rates.
they're high.
So then,
It's
what's
cheaper
the
than
difference?
finance.
So what's the difference here? The truth, like she said, we come in here, we say our piece, the lady that was here, for what? You're still gonna do it, we voice our opinion, no one hears us, okay? Yet, we're the ones that have to deal with it every day until we're done, okay? That's the reality of it, right? So, I'm upset that we were not included in the first 2 meetings, okay? I find that to be completely irresponsible, and this is to be addressed. You're the zoning board, make sure that they sent it to the people, okay? This is the very first one we got. We got it 4 days ago. Okay, so I knew I was coming here for this. I knew. I'm a little bit nervous because I don't speak in front of, well, I speak in front of people all the time. I'm an instructor. But this is something altogether. My wife's an attorney, but she's out of the country. Or she would be here instead, okay? So, again, this is what this of not getting the notices has to end, just like the cops are not taking the people who are parking in the wrong spots, okay? It needs to be addressed, okay? So there's failures everywhere, let's fix it. It's a beautiful town. I've been in this town since '02, okay? But now I think there's overreach here and disregard for the people who pay taxes, paying the taxes, okay? And I'm done. Have a good night, everyone.
Mr. Torres, if you can sit around just for a second, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
Hold on. Good evening, I'll keep this short and sweet. Michael Sheldon, 47 Floyd Street. And do I need to be sworn in, or am I still sworn in for perpetuity?
No, we're gonna swear you in
Okay.
again.
All right.
You swear the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I absolutely do. Before I make my comments, I just wanted to address 2 things. One thing that Mr. Banda mentioned a moment ago, and then something that Mr. Torres just mentioned. Mr. Banda, you said a moment ago that of 322 units, only 4 kids. Could you just, you don't have to do it tonight, but could you give me, send me an email, just what are those units with the 4 kids?
I can't give you the exact, that's feedback that we've got.
All right.
I do know the buildings where it came from, that's it. I know
Well,
that
you
we
can
did
give
3
me just the
buildings. The one building that it comes from is Silver Lake.
All right, on Belmont?
On Belleville.
Belmont, all right. Because I'm trying to reconcile what you're telling us with what Dr. Tomko is telling us, and there's a wide margin of disagreement.
Dr. Compo's report doesn't break down to what the actual units in these bigger buildings are. He just says there's this many units and that's it. So they take a snowball picture and say, well, this is what we're gonna produce. They don't have any data on the size of the units, the type of units. And when you look at the other studies break it down deeper. The Rucker study that I always like to go by. So his number that he provided in his report was off from the Rucker study. Then we take reality, which is actually coming into Belleville based on what we're doing, and it's even further off. So he was at 160 kids. It was really going to be somewhere around 40 to 60 kids based on 2,000 units, based on the Rucker study. Then you have our own internal, what is actually happening in the buildings, which is 4 kids for 322 units. Multiply that times the entire pipeline, you have 15 total kids. So it's not, it'll vary, it will vary. And as the local study base grows out, meaning as these buildings open up, we'll know more. But it's what we've gotten so far, statewide studies, and then Dr. Tomko's study, which is only off because he didn't have the full data. There is some other things in that study that are interesting, like the 2 families and the 1 families, that the extra kids are coming out of the new ones of those being built, which is actually understandable, right? So.
Remember, he's quoted several times since the beginning of the year of 9 new two-family homes. Of 9 homes, 15 children have been added to the district so far this year.
And most of the time people argue to keep the 2-family homes and the 1-family, that kind of stuff. That's where the kids are coming from. They also pay the lowest taxes per acre throughout the entire town. So it's an interesting theory about what type of tax base we chase.
All right, thank you for that clarification. In regard to Mr. Torres' concern about not being notified previously about this property, I know there have been 2 previous hearings, but those were redevelopment studies, and if Mr. Marielton can correct me if I'm wrong, when you have such hearings, you don't have to notice everyone within 200 feet. It's only when you have actual construction plans, that's when the 200-foot notice comes into play. If I'm wrong about that, let me know, but that may explain why Mr. Torres didn't get official notification over the course of the last year when you had CME and you're explaining whether or not these properties satisfied ANOR criteria.
Honestly, I don't know that statute off the top of my head, so I don't know if that was required, but there was no consideration at those hearings that the proper notice wasn't provided according to the statute, so
Well, when I get home later tonight, I'll put my big old copy of the Cox book and see if you have to, when you're doing just a redevelopment study, if everyone within 200 feet of that property has to be notified.
I mean, I know the meeting, I'm not sure the answer to that about the certified mail, but there are rules for the notice of those meetings. I think they have to be published twice in the newspaper beforehand. I mean, I know that not many people look at the newspaper the way they even get a newspaper anymore. I don't know if they still even publish them, but yes, I don't recall hearing any problems with notice.
All right, well, it's been a long night. Let me just quickly say a word or 2 about this project, and then I'll let you guys take care of your final responsibility. Obviously, totally in support of what's happening at 215. Having a bakery there and a small municipal lot, excellent planning, kudos, type of thing that Belleville needs. But on the other hand, the project at 202, again, seems to be out of proportion for Belleville and is going to exacerbate the already bad situation, traffic situation on Belleville Avenue. It's probably too late at this point to suggest any ideas, but to deal with Mr. Torres' concern about losing privacy, I wonder if it might have been possible to take 1 floor off of 202 and move that to 215, because the buildings that are on that block where 215 is located, they are 3-story with retail, commercial on the ground floor and apartments on the upper floor. So that would have been consistent with the existing architecture to have a 2 or 3-story building at 215, and that would have reduced the height of what's proposed at 202. Traffic on Belleville Avenue is always going to be a problem because it's an old road, it's a county road with only 2 lanes, which may have been great back in 1860, but no longer works today. Something I wanted to suggest here, this is finally the opportunity. I noticed that many other communities that have similar traffic situations at intersections where little residential streets enter main thoroughfares, they stripe that intersection and put up signs, do not block. For example, when you're on the Belleville Turnpike coming down the hill, North Arlington has that. I realize the complication here is that this is Belleville Avenue is a county road, and you really, it wouldn't be feasible to put another traffic light between Washington Avenue and Union to slow down the traffic flow. But perhaps something you can collectively look into is working with the county, maybe to put in striped intersections with do not block signs, at least from Garden Avenue. And I think there may be a stripe where they put the emergency crosswalk. I think that intersection may be striped now, but at least from Garden Avenue all the way down to Washington Avenue, sans Union, the intersection of Union, obviously that has traffic lights, to see if something can be done to keep these entrances open somewhat during critical times of the day. That might give more relief than anything else that could ever be contemplated. So, you know, guys, when you have your private discussions, if you haven't already thought about that, consider the striping of intersections, and if you can get the county maybe to buy into that, that might help Belleville overall. All right, thank you for your time.
Any other comments? All right, having none, I'm going to close this portion, and Mr. Gassion, you can summarize.
Madam Chair Lady, I'd just like to respond to some of the issues that were raised. First, the taxes that will be forthcoming. The taxes that will be forthcoming far exceed the cost of any school children, because the studies show practically no school children come from a building like this. Not just one study, the Rutgers study, many studies. I've been doing this obviously for many, many years, and depending upon the case, I've presented numerous studies of a minimal number of school children coming from a place like this, and usually, even in the 2 bedrooms, once a child is born to a family in there, they move their location. The parking lot, the maintenance of the parking lot, there will be an agreement between the town and my client with regard to the parking lot, and that maintenance will clearly be taken care of. There are 7 spaces that the town will have access to, plus a handicap space. The traffic that came out of that parking lot when wet was there was dramatically more than the parking that will ever come out of this building. At prime time, the max you're going to see out of a building like this is 6 or 7 cars per hour. That's at prime time. You wouldn't even see that at other times. Talking about school children, I'm not demeaning the previous applicant, but I would guarantee you that 5 years from now, if you check the number of school children coming from that family home and the number of school children coming from this 17 unit, you'd have more school children coming from the one family home than this 17 units. So also the comments that this board hasn't considered everything and not looking at it. Well, the consideration is just major site plan approval. There's no consideration of one variance. This is a completely compliant application. So I don't want to get into a legal argument, but you're doing your job at this. You don't have a flexibility when there's no variances. The conditions are difficult to impose. The building is 100% conforming. We're only seeking, as I said, and I'm repeating myself, preliminary and final major site plan approval. We went through everything relevant in Mr. Harris's report and responded to it. We went through everything relevant in the and there were many other relevant things, I'm sorry, but everything that applied to us that was up. The CME report and responded to it. The issue of the left turn out of the property. This is a county road. There's a county planning board application that's going to have to be filed, and they will make a determination with regard to traffic movements. So I think this is an application that's completely compliant. The board's confronted with the ability to approve something that complies. You don't always get that. So the school situation is not an issue, definitely not. The traffic certainly is going to be ingress and egress out of the site, but nothing like the previous use, and during prime time, very, very small number. Won't have any, if we had a traffic expert here, he'd say it has no consequential effect for sure. So I thank the board for all the time and attention to my client's application and to the consideration of all the citizens who had something to say. Thank you.
All right, I'll close this portion and, motion?
Motion?
Wait.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, we're gonna give them the sign. We'll put the sign up, they have no problems putting it up.
Which sign?
The left turn, in the parking lot, out into Belleville Ave.
All right, you wanna make that?
He just said that's gonna be
Yeah,
for the
Mr.
county.
Reyes, could you please speak into the
Yeah.
mic? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Mike's
they're
on,
not-
I don't
they're
think they
not
work.
working.
They don't
Oh,
work.
I'm sorry, I was talking about the,
That's
I was
all.
talking about the, no left turn onto Belleville Ave, which the architect said it's fine, he'll include it, you know, we just wanted to put that in there, even though it is gonna go to the county planning board.
Well, you have the right to
We'll
put
just
it in.
wanna put it in, we'll just put it in,
County-
even though we know
County's gonna make. the
anyone's
decision.
gonna listen to it if they don't listen to it, but you can just put it in, it's not gonna hurt anyone.
So that will be the only condition, I believe.
I'm not sure if you can actually even make it a condition, because if the county planning board says no, they're not gonna come back here again because they don't have that condition.
Well, this can go inside the garage before they turn out, right? That's still her property, if she wanted to say, like, she can still do that, you know, I'm not saying put the sign outside.
Just keep in mind that if it's inside the property, then even if they do.
Stop, Jackie, I
Yeah.
can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think what she's trying to say is it's not enforceable
It's not gonna
by
be
the
enforced.
Belleville Police
Yeah.
Department if it's a sign that's internal to the building. But you could put it, I don't know that the applicant would mind putting a sign inside, would you mind putting a sign inside the building, no left turn? I mean, we realize that that has only limited value,
Right.
and people would probably make lefts anyway.
Yeah, just some type of deterrent
But,
to
you know, if
satisfy.
one resident goes to the right every day instead of to the left, that might be of some value.
My client's indicated she's willing to put it inside the building because she has no authority to put anything outside the building.
Of course, and I think that, you know, it may be that the county planning board will want you to have a no left turn sign.
Oh, they may say that for
Right,
sure.
exactly, so that may very well happen anyway at the county level.
Might have two.
All right. Any other, no, all right, so. I give it
I motion.
Second,
with the condition.
with the stop sign condition. I mean, I'm sorry, left turn condition.
You can do that in this one.
Do what?
Put the condition, and if they say no, they say no.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
the condition is gonna be that the sign is put internally.
Okay.
I mean, they have to go to the planning board, the county
Regardless,
planning
yeah,
board,
we
so.
have no,
And this, I mean, the county planning board basically is concerned with two things for the most part, drainage and traffic. So this is gonna be one of the things, the main things that the county planning board is looking at anyway, so.
You want to add the coordination with the adjacent property owners during construction and that? They talk about exchanging their names and that.
I believe they did that, was it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say the word coordination. I'd
No.
be happy to say, provide the name of the contractor.
Contract.
It's more of a communication issue than anything else.
Communicate with the adjacent property.
That's fine.
Okay.
As to the name of the contract.
Okay.
Okay, second, you're making a motion?
Yeah, I motion with conditions.
Roll call.
Chairwoman Nogarata,
Yes.
Mr. Venero,
Yes.
Mr. Vanda,
Yes.
Ms. Swan,
Yes.
Mr. Guines,
Yes.
Mr. Zangari,
Yes.
approved, all in favor.
All right, right before we adjourn,
Thank you for your time and attention.
just want to give a quick reminder if everyone did their financial disclosure, which is supposed to be done by the end of April.
I did it. I think I did. I did.
Okay, I give a motion to adjourn.